Chapter 959. This girl's eyes were filled with battle intent. She actually didn't plan to continue cultivating here. Instead, she sprinted forward in a frenzy. Her speed was rather astonishing. She caught up to Yi Tianyun in an instant. Yi Tianyun felt someone beside him. He subconsciously turned his head and saw an absolute beauty chasing after him. She was dressed in green, and her light green hair was fluttering behind her. Not only was she dressed in green, but her eyes were also light green like two emeralds. They looked rather beautiful, especially when she was chasing after him. Every step she took would produce a small tuft of flowers and grass, which highlighted her extraordinariness. Blooming flowers with every step. Is this the wood deity body? Yi Tianyun was startled. His appraisal eye displayed the detailed information of the other party. This girl's cultivation was at the 7th refinement Earth Monarch. Not to mention, she also had the wood deity body, which was several times stronger than the Ice Age body. One was a sage, one was a god. The difference was obvious. The wood deity body could be said to be blessed by the vitality of heaven and earth. As long as it was related to the wood attribute, it would have a great effect on her. This meant that cultivating here for a day was equivalent to cultivating for a month for others. This was the difference. Some talents couldn't be caught up with just hard work. The difference was simply too great. Unless she didn't cultivate and forcefully suppressed her cultivation, no one could catch up to her. Are you new here? Murong Xiao asked with a smile. More or less. It seems like you were the strongest disciple in the core hall. Yi Tianyun ran all the way. Apart from her, no one else was at the front. As for those Lord of Heaven, they didn't have a chance once they broke through to the Lord of Heaven. The Ascension battle only allowed Earth Monarchs. Lord of Heaven definitely didn't want them. Of course, there were exceptions. For example, those at the 8th or 9th refinement Earth Monarchs had some value. Before that, they didn't have much value. Second-grade gods wouldn't want them at all. Strongest disciple in the core hall. Murong Xiao squinted his eyes and smiled. The strongest disciple you mentioned is that person. He has always wanted to catch up to me, but he has always been behind me without any motivation. I'm dying of boredom here. No one can play with me. Yi Tianyun turned his head to look at the youth who was standing quite a distance away from them. His face was filled with shock. He was the strongest disciple of the core palace? Upon closer inspection, it was indeed the case. Reaching the 7th refinement Earth Lord cultivation level was indeed quite strong. However, he was also a 7th refinement Earth Monarch, but the gap between him and Murong Xiao was more than 10,000 meters. Not to mention catching up, he couldn't even get close. Unless it was an elder-level existence, it would be impossible for them to catch up. If he is the strongest disciple of the core palace, then are you not from the core palace? Yi Tianyun was a little surprised. If she was not a core disciple, then where was she from? Of course I'm not from the core palace, I'm... Murong Xiao smiled brilliantly and said to him, if you catch up to me, I'll tell you. She broke into a run and sprinted forward, stirring up a wave of fragrance in front of him. To be able to run so fast at this level, it had to be said that her strength was astonishing. Indeed, in this divine realm, there were many geniuses. This was already a distance of 60,000 meters, and she could still run so fast. It seemed like she was playing this way on purpose. Other people couldn't wait to stay here for a while longer, but she seemed to be impatient. She could even stay here and wait for others to catch up. This was the difference between people. Presumably, she was the daughter of some big family. Otherwise, how could she be so willful? Yi Tianyun shook his head and couldn't be bothered with her. He raised his leg and chased after her, and without any suspense, he caught up to Murong Xiao. Looks like you're really naughty. I'm actually not interested in catching up to you at all. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, of course, I'm not interested in your identity either. I'm just asking casually. After saying that, he sped up and overtook Murong Xiao. His speed continued to increase, and the distance between the two of them widened. Murong Xiao watched as he got further and further away. She was startled at first, but then she smiled brilliantly and said, interesting, I haven't had such an opponent in a long time. After saying that, she increased her speed as well. Her footsteps became faster and faster, and flowers bloomed under her feet. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the two of them began a chase. Others were struggling to persevere here, but they seemed to be playing, running down easily. This caused the crowd to be dumbfounded. Damn, where did they come from? How could they run above 60,000 meters so easily? You're asking me, but who am I supposed to ask? Most importantly, they're humans. Am I seeing things? None of them knew. Only the young man sitting in front of them could be considered as the second strongest existence. He clenched his fists tightly and stared at Tianyun. What's wrong with this brat? He stole my thunder. Murong Xiao even started running with him. If he gets the chance, we're finished. He was the first disciple of the core hall, Yuan Tianyu. Whether it was talent or strength, he was number one in the core hall. Of course, the first disciple referred to the new batch. If compared to the old batch, there was no way they could compare. He really wanted to catch up, but he couldn't run at all. A terrifying power was pressing down on him, making it difficult for him to move. Damn, is this the difference between a genius and a genius? Gu Yanlong couldn't even cultivate in peace. He didn't know what to say when he saw the chase between Tianyun and Murong Xiao. Xu Yuan's expression was extremely ugly. This time, he didn't lose unjustly. His opponent was about to reach 70,000 meters. He was a one-man race, and they wouldn't be able to catch up even if they had two more legs. Everyone had different thoughts. There were two people who made it difficult for them to cultivate in peace. They all opened their eyes to see who would lose first. I don't believe I can't catch up with you. Murong Xiao bit her lips, and a faint green light suddenly shone from her body. Then a red lotus appeared behind her and blossomed in the air. It was very beautiful. At this moment, the blossoming flower under her feet was even more shocking. The pressure on her body was reduced, and she suddenly sped up. Gradually, the distance between them was shortened. Tianyan glanced at them and couldn't help but smile. Geniuses were indeed somewhat arrogant. They were starting to catch up with their full strength. However, he didn't use his full strength. He only used his physical strength and nothing else. His physical strength alone was enough to charge down. Chapter 960. Tianyun didn't have the habit of giving face to beauties. He maintained a steady speed as he ran down. The more he ran, the more experience he gained. The key to him coming down here was to gain experience, not to get to know these beauties. Murong Xiao spent a lot of effort to barely catch up. However, her forehead was already dripping with sweat. It was enough to show that the pressure here had a big effect on her. Tianyan looked carefully and found that Murong Xiao's body had changed. The life force around her was constantly being absorbed to replenish her body's consumption. No wonder she could persist for so long. This is a paradise for her. Tianyan shook his head. With an amazing physique, she would be a lot better than others. You want to get rid of me? It's not that easy. Murong Xiao glared at him. Her jade feet were constantly flying. She was running barefoot. Especially now that she was dripping with sweat, she looked really tempting. However, Tianyan didn't buy it. Instead, he shrugged helplessly and said, "You say it as if I abandoned you. I'll say it first. I didn't abandon you. Don't talk nonsense and cause people to misunderstand." You lecher. Murong Xiao's pretty face turned red. Like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, she screamed. How could this lady be abandoned by you? The number of men chasing this lady can line up from here to my house. You are not even in the line. After being ridiculed, Murong Xiao was angered. She wanted to reach out and grab Tianyan. Tianyan smiled and increased his speed. So don't talk nonsense and cause people to misunderstand. There are a lot of people watching. Tianyan dropped a sentence and continued to run forward at a faster speed, leaving her behind. You can still increase your speed? Murong Xiao was dumbfounded. She was running at the limit of her speed. If she continued to increase her speed, it wouldn't be a normal burst of speed. She would be risking her life. She could only grit her teeth and continue to chase forward so that the distance between them wouldn't be so far apart. However, the distance between them continued to widen bit by bit. Tianyun's figure gradually disappeared into the distance, causing her to feel a sense of helplessness. If they were to compete in terms of speed here, she would only be able to look at his back. There was no way she could catch up to Etianyun. Etianyun had to circulate his dragon god bloodline slightly to raise his strength to the extreme in order to maintain his accelerated state. Otherwise, there was really nothing he could do. The crazy damage mode was not very useful here. It could be said that it had no effect. After all, this was a pressure suppression, not a fight. Therefore, he was purely relying on his physique and his own strength to rush down. Under the effects of the double stacking, he could still persevere. After chasing for a few thousand meters, Murong Xiao finally couldn't take it anymore and stopped. He stomped on the ground and looked at Yi Tianyun angrily. "Just you wait. I'll catch up to you soon." "Okay, I'll wait for you." Yi Tianyun turned his head and smiled at her. This little girl was really stubborn. After saying that, she sat down on the ground and began to cultivate. She had to get used to the weight here and have a breakthrough before she could move forward. Otherwise, if she continued, she would definitely not be able to persevere. It was already quite amazing that she could sit down and cultivate on the ground. One must know that she was currently at a distance of 73,000 meters, far surpassing the many cultivators behind her. According to gravity, this place was equivalent to more than 70 billion kilograms. The terrifying gravity was enough to make them unable to bear it. She was a delicate girl, but she could still persevere. If it were anyone else, it would be really unbelievable. As Yi Tianyun continued to rush forward, he felt the pressure getting stronger and stronger. With his current situation, it was difficult for him to continue sprinting forward at a fast speed. From the original running to the current walking, the pressure was quite heavy for him. Of course, he could still continue to move forward, but from the initial rapid running to a brisk walk, he could still maintain a good speed. Just a little bit more, and I can reach 80,000 meters. When that time comes, it will directly increase the time by 1 year. Yi Tianyun looked at the bottom. His real goal was the bottom. He felt that there was a special force at the bottom. Therefore, he desperately wanted to go down. He didn't want to reach 80,000 meters, which would be considered a success. 80,000 meters was just a small process, and the difficulty was not considered high. Very quickly, he crossed the 80,000 meters mark. The people above were all dumbfounded. 80,000 meters. This was 80,000 meters. To be able to reach this level, probably only the elders could reach this level. But for an unknown human to achieve such an achievement, it was really unbelievable. After reaching 80,000 meters, he had just crossed it when a terrifying pressure pressed down, causing his legs to instantly weaken. He almost knelt down, but he still forced himself to persevere. How did the gravity instantly exceed 50 billion kilograms? Isn't the gap a little too big? Yi Tianyun felt a little speechless. He thought it was still within 100 billion kilograms, but in the blink of an eye, it rushed to more than 100 billion kilograms. The pressure is really too much. This time, his speed immediately slowed down, basically almost the same as walking, even a little slower than walking. 80,000 meters should be the limit. He can't continue, right? Everyone was relieved. If he really climbed to the bottom, then it would be really abnormal. Those who can climb to the bottom are all elders and above. The rest are really not seen. If Yi Tianyun can really go down to the bottom, doesn't it mean that he has the power of an elder? It's almost time. I can only use more power. Yi Tianyun's body shook and said solemnly, "Upgrade Dragon God Bloodline. Successfully deducted 50 million crazy points. Upgrade Dragon God Bloodline to 7th grade. The next level requires 500 million crazy points." Crackle, crackle. His body began to make a crisp sound. On the surface, his body did not grow bigger, but his body became more solid and terrifying. After the successful upgrade, his strength suddenly increased a lot. "Let's go." Yi Tianyun smiled slightly and continued to quickly trot forward. His speed was not fast, but from barely walking before to being able to trot, it is already a great breakthrough. Damn, is there something wrong with my eyes? He can still run? Did he just take a break just now? They just breathed a sigh of relief, but now again, their mouths are wide open. They can't believe it. Chapter 961. Yi Tianyun couldn't be bothered with their gazes. He just continued to run. He didn't use his full strength. He just jogged towards the depths, not too fast nor too slow. No one laughed at his speed. They only felt that he was too strong and had extraordinary abilities. Others were already unable to move an inch, but he could still continue to run. How could they not be shocked? As he ran forward bit by bit, he soon reached 90,000 meters and continued to run for 100,000 meters. This caused everyone to think that this human could reach the lowest level of the pyramid. The situation here quickly alerted the elders outside. Soon, Elder Yu and the others appeared on the side. When they saw the situation, they couldn't help but shake their heads. This kid can run to 90,000 meters. How did he cultivate? I suspect that it won't take long for him to surpass us old men. Yu Yanglong and Ming Yueqing both shook their heads. They didn't know what to say. It hadn't been long, and Yi Tianyin already had such results. According to this, it wouldn't take long for Yi Tianyin to surpass them. Elders are too modest. Even if he can reach the bottom now, it doesn't mean he can surpass you. A deacon on the side said. These words were a bit flattering, but it wasn't a lie. Both of them were Earth monarchs at the 7th or 8th level. Even if they were only at the 2nd level of the Lord of Heaven, with the power of the demon fire, they were far from what an ordinary Lord of Heaven could compare to. If they truly erupted, even an ordinary 5th or 6th level Lord of Heaven wouldn't be able to stop them. These days, cultivation was extremely important. But more importantly, one's foundation needed to be strong enough. If one's foundation was strong enough, it wouldn't be a problem to jump levels to kill. The reason why their cultivation was so slow was largely due to the problem of the demon fire. Because of the demon fire, their breakthroughs were slightly slower. But that didn't mean they were weak. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to become an elder with a 2nd or 3rd level Lord of Heaven cultivation. If they didn't have some ability, they wouldn't be able to gain everyone's respect. There's no need to say more. If he can quickly become stronger, we'll be even happier. No master didn't want their disciple to surpass them and become stronger. The student surpasses the master. This is what gives the master the most face. However, they were a little embarrassed. In fact, they had only taught demonic fire before. They hadn't taught much else. It was a little forced to say that they had taught demonic fire. Is this the new disciple of the 2 elders? Looks like he will be a trump card for the ascending battle of the divine domain this time. At this time, a few elders walked in from outside. When they saw Yi Tianyin, they all nodded and praised him. Just based on the strength, there was really nothing much to say. If they still said that they were humans now, then they would be short-sighted. To be able to sit in the position of an elder, one had to place one's sights on the places where there were real benefits, rather than internal strife. Although this kind of thing was not uncommon, at least the people here were relatively united and focused on collective interests. That's right. It seems like our god domain will have 2 trump cards in the ascending battle. The key is that he is our own disciple. Murong Xiao is not a disciple of the heavenly mandate realm. He is just a disciple who was invited to help us. They all shook their heads and saw that the number 1 disciple of the core hall was far behind Murong Xiao. The gap between the two was like a chasm. They were both 7 refined Earth Lords, but why was the gap so big? Fortunately, Yi Tianyin made them feel very gratified, being able to produce an outstanding genius. Then in the ascending battle of the divine domain, when they got a good ranking, they didn't need to share too many benefits. It could even be said that there was no need to share. As for Murong Xiao, he had to share a lot. Basically, they could only get a small part. It had to be said that this price was extremely high, but in order to not make the heavenly mandate realm look bad, they had to do this. At this time, Nian Xiyu rushed over. It was obvious that she was attracted by the news here. She came to the stairs and looked down. When she saw that Yi Tianyin was already running to the finish line, she suddenly laughed and said, I thought it would take a long time. I just left not long ago, and I'm almost at the bottom. Elder Nian, how can Yi Tianyin break through so quickly? Is his foundation unstable? Yu Yanglong saw Nian Xiyu and hurried over to ask. Since Nian Xiyu brought Yi Tianyin back, there seemed to be a big change. However, this change still made them a little worried. It's okay. Even if his foundation is unstable, isn't he starting to consolidate it now? If he cultivates and consolidates it down there, he will definitely be able to completely consolidate his cultivation before the ascending battle of the divine domain, Nian Xiu said with a smile. That's right. Their eyes continued to turn to Yi Tianyan to see if he could run to the bottom. Although for them, the bottom was not that difficult, for a newcomer it was definitely not easy. At the same time, as Yi Tianyan quickly ran down, as he got closer and closer to the bottom, he gradually saw something at the bottom. He looked down slightly closer to the stairs and found that there was a huge green gem at the bottom. Isn't this the life crystal of the spirit race? Yi Tianyan was stunned when he saw it. However, upon closer inspection, he realized that it was not a life crystal. Planet core. The core that maintains the flow of life on a planet. Once the core is destroyed, the planet will not be able to continue growing life. It can provide an endless supply of energy. This core is the core of life and has an astonishing vitality. So this is the core of a planet. Yi Tianyan remembered what the evil spirit race had said before. They came to the three realms for the core. He did not know how big the core of the three realms was. If the core was about the same size as this, it would indeed have an astonishing amount of energy. He had read about this before. Not all planets could condense a core. Some planets were relatively small, but they could condense a core. They were very precious. No wonder it said that this is the best place to cultivate. That's right. It's so close to the origin energy. How can it not be good for cultivation? Yi Tianyan nodded. He finally understood why such harsh conditions were needed. If anyone could come in and absorb it, this core would quickly dry up. Therefore, people could only enter according to their contribution. If they did not have enough contribution points, they would naturally not be able to enter. He looked at the huge core and felt a little more excited. If he could take away a small part of this life crystal, wouldn't it allow the spirit race to prosper rapidly? That life crystal was like a mini version of the core, and it was equivalent to a grain of sand in a desert. Chapter 962. I wonder if I could ask the elders to give me a bit of the core. Yi Tianyan narrowed his eyes and began to think about this core. After all, he had been searching all over the street and could not find a similar life core. If this continued, the situation in the spirit clan would definitely be difficult to reproduce. It was undoubtedly a very good idea to take a piece back for the time being. After all, the life crystals in the three realms did not last long. They could not last more than a few years. Now it seemed that they were about to dry up. When I go out, I'll discuss with them. It's so big, I can cut a small piece out. It's not like I'll die. He thought for a moment and continued to run forward. As he got closer and closer, the pressure increased. This pressure was not caused by the elders of the heavenly mandate divine realm. In fact, it was the energy released by this life core which made people feel great pressure. Not only was the pressure amazing, but the life force that was pouring in was also amazing. To a large extent, this life force had a kind of substantial energy that was squeezed down from all sides, which was why there was a sense of gravity. Therefore, before being able to withstand this gravity, there was no way to absorb the life force here. Because of this reason, many cultivators who came here to cultivate would first see where their limits were and see if they could absorb the energy. If they could not, they would step back a little until they felt that it was suitable. 96 million experience points, 96,100,000 experience points. When he climbed to more than 96,000 meters, the experience had soared to more than 96 million. According to this situation, if he was the closest, he could basically get as much as 100 million experience points every time. This was without using the crazy experience mode, and he could reach nearly 100 million experience points. Although the experience gained was much less than killing strong cultivators, the experience was stable enough, and the speed of gaining was quite amazing. The key was that it was not limited by his own martial arts, unlike the devouring martial arts, which was a little bit limited. This was to forcefully squeeze in life force. As long as he could withstand this force, he could obtain so much energy. Especially since there were many planets in his body, that was another matter. Absorbing it was like a huge amount of feeling. It was simply amazing. If he could stay here for a few years, it would not be a dream to break through several levels. After all, he could obtain nearly 100 million EXP each time, and it didn't take long for him to obtain so much EXP each time. It was very worthwhile. Elder Nyan is right. This training ground is really good. No wonder there are so many earthly lords and the Lord of Heaven here. This place is a great help to them. Tianyan shook his head. There was a limit. If he was given only a month, it would be too short. Soon, he continued to approach the life core. Finally, he was only a few hundred meters away from the life core. At this time, the pressure was so great that he felt like he couldn't breathe. There are still more than 500 meters left, but the last 500 meters are the most difficult. It should be said that the most important thing is to be able to meditate and stabilize yourself. Yu Yanglong looked at his disciple, his eyes filled with anticipation. Only by being stable could it be considered a success. If he couldn't stabilize it, it could only be considered a failure. Of course, he could slowly adapt to it in the later stages, and it would still be considered a success. He still had a lot of time. However, the difficulty wasn't small. The last 500 meters was rather difficult. The gravity suddenly increased a lot, and the originally gentle life force suddenly became incomparably violent. Whether he could withstand it or not would depend on his own ability. Yes, that is indeed the most difficult. I have seen people rush to the end in one breath, but I have never seen anyone who could sit down for the first time. They all shook their heads. However, if Tianyan failed, he definitely wouldn't feel it was a pity. He would only feel that it was natural. It was already quite amazing to be able to reach this level at such a young age. Many geniuses couldn't reach the end. They would only reach the end after a few more times, and their cultivation increased by several levels. Failure here wasn't a disgrace. After all, this was training, not a competition. When Tianyan stepped into the last 500 meters, he immediately felt a terrifying gravity pressing down on him. His knees buckled, and he almost knelt down. Veins popped up on his body. First, his meridians turned green, and then they started to turn red. His entire face turned red. The terrifying gravity made it hard for him to breathe, and his chest felt like it was going to explode. As expected, he has reached his limit. They saw that Tianyun's knees were bent, which meant that he had reached his limit. He probably couldn't even take half a step forward. This was the terror of the last 500 meters. They thought back to the training from a long time ago, and they all thought that they could finish it. When they entered the 500 meters range, that was the real start. It's fine. He just needs to retreat a little and cultivate. According to the reward plan, he can stay in there for more than 2 years, which is enough for him to take his time. Nien Ciu smiled and said, however, to be able to reach this level of ability is enough for him to be proud. All the elders nodded. If he passed in one go, it would really be strange. Tianyun, who was below, bitterly persevered. He wanted to take another step forward, but he just couldn't take that step. He felt like he couldn't even lift his leg. This gravity is too terrifying. It has completely multiplied. Tianyun looked up at the life core that was within his reach. He was less than 500 meters away. If he could touch it at a closer distance, the effect would definitely be better. But now that he has reached his limit, if he doesn't upgrade it, he will definitely fall back. It seems that I can only upgrade, Dragon God Bloodline. Ding, deducted 500 million EXP. Successfully upgraded Dragon God Bloodline to 8th grade. The next level requires 5 billion crazy points. If he didn't upgrade, he definitely wouldn't be able to cultivate here. Sure enough, after the upgrade, the effect immediately improved a lot, so that he can easily stay here to cultivate, and the pressure is a lot lighter. Soon after, he straightened his legs and walked inside step by step. Even if he upgraded his Dragon God Bloodline, he still felt the pressure doubled, and he could barely walk inside. How is this possible? When the elders thought that there was nothing to see, they suddenly saw Tianyan walking inside step by step. Shocking, terrifying, and unbelievable. Everyone's eyes appeared in front of them. It is really too unbelievable. Am I seeing a ghost? Yes, it is really a ghost. I also doubt it. Can he still walk? Chapter 963. Everyone looked at Tianyun as if they had seen a ghost. But Tianyun continued to walk forward and slowly approached the life core. The distance of 500 meters was getting heavier with each step, but it was still within his tolerance range. Finally, he moved forward bit by bit and successfully reached the life core. He was within reach. What a dense life force. Etienne closed his eyes and carefully felt the surging life force. It was much more effective than his longevity said. If he had any injuries, he could recover instantly. Even a broken arm could be regrown. As for the other internal injuries in his body, he could recover quickly. Many cultivators would more or less have some hidden ailments in their bodies. These were all buried during the cultivation process. Etienne did not have any internal injuries. His physique was already so strong, and he had the longevity set. It was impossible for him to have any internal injuries. Even if he did, he would recover immediately. When he reached out to touch the core, he immediately felt himself fusing with it. Surging life force surged into his body, and his experience increased explosively. 110 million experience points, 108 million experience points. The experience points hovered around 100 million, which was quite terrifying. The most important thing was that it could flow into the planet in his body, filling it with more life force. He reached out to the core and began to absorb the essence of the core, transferring it to the planet in his body. He wondered if he could absorb the core essence into his body. Immediately, he tried to transfer the life force into the planet bit by bit. When the elders saw that Etienne was able to cultivate steadily below, they had strange expressions on their faces. They did not know what to feel. It could even be described as terrifying. It was unprecedented for him to succeed in one go. This was the first time they had seen someone succeed in one go. They had never seen such a situation before. Of course, it was not impossible to succeed in one go. One could just find a powerful Lord of Heaven and walk straight to the core area. It might even be easier. However, the significance was different. Etienne's cultivation was only at the third refinement Earth Lord level. He was much weaker than the Lord of Heaven. This was like a child who was able to carry a bucket of water. He would definitely feel that he was very strong, but if it was an adult trying it, it would be normal. In this time's Divine Realm Ascension War, we should be able to obtain a very good result. They didn't speak too confidently. There were countless powerhouses here, so everything was hard to say. Some invincible geniuses were plotted against and killed along the way, so they naturally did not have a place in the rankings. There were also existences stronger than Murong Xiao. Murong Xiao was very talented, but they did not dare to say that he was a heaven-defying existence. Because some cultivators were reincarnations of powerhouses, who could say for sure? After the elders saw the final result, they all went back to their own matters. He had seen everything here, and there was nothing else to see. The only thing Etienne could do now was to stay here and cultivate until the time was up. If he could reach a depth of 100,000 meters, he would be able to stay until the Divine Realm's Ascension battle. This kind of treatment even many Lord of Heaven were envious of. Even the elders could not stay for that long. They were afraid that the absorption would be too rapid, and they would absorb all the energy from the core. No matter what, this planet could only be considered a small planet. The condensed core could only be considered small, and it was impossible for it to produce energy endlessly. When Murong Xiao and the others saw Etienne's situation, there was only shock in their eyes. There was no envy or jealousy. This was because he had relied on true strength to reach the bottom and leave them far behind. There was no jealousy to speak of. If they were surpassed by a little bit, they might be a little unwilling. But when it surpassed a huge range, to the extent that they could not reach, they could only look up to it. Besides looking up to it, there was no other thought. Where did this kid come from? He is so much stronger than me. She clenched her fists, and her beautiful eyes flickered with unwillingness. She was different from other cultivators. She was still arrogant. She had always been regarded as a super genius, but she was surpassed by an unknown young man. How could she be willing to accept this? Originally, she felt that cultivating here was boring. Now that she saw that Etienne had surpassed her by so much, the motivation in her heart immediately surged, and she wanted to rush forward. Etienne could not be bothered with their thoughts. He focused on cultivating and absorbing the life energy. Gradually, the planet in his body grew bigger bit by bit, and it became luxuriant. Some spirit herbs began to grow. The spirit herbs that were growing were of a lower grade, but at least they were progressing in an excellent direction. As for the core and whatnot, he still could not condense it. He did not know if he could condense the core. After all, it was an absolutely rare thing. He did not think too much about it. Now, he was simply gaining experience and strengthening the planet's energy in his body. After an unknown period of time, the planet in Tianyun's body suddenly emitted a ray of light. Following that, the planet let out a rumbling sound and began to grow bigger bit by bit. It's starting to improve? Tianyun was elated. He knew that if he wanted the planet to grow bigger, he had to nourish it bit by bit. He needed the nourishment of astral power. It would take a relatively long time for the planet to grow bigger. As for how long it would take, it was temporarily unknown. Different cultivator situations were different. And now, he was starting to grow bigger. The originally small planet began to grow bigger bit by bit. The speed was not fast. However, when it grew bigger, the land area immediately expanded. It could be said that expanding one circle was equivalent to adding another continent. After expanding a few circles, it finally stopped. The vegetation on it also increased by a level. The original limit of trees was only a few feet tall, but now it suddenly increased to more than 100 feet. Originally, the highest grade of spirit herbs was only grade 1 or 2. Now, it became grade 3 or 4. Now, the planet in his body had officially advanced to grade 2, entering a brand new realm. Immediately, he felt that his astral power capacity and explosive power had greatly increased. Is this the feeling of leveling up to a planet? It's almost the same effect as a breakthrough in cultivation. Tianyun was very surprised. However, he knew that improving his cultivation was much easier than upgrading to a planet. It was much more difficult for a planet. It was not as simple as the usual nourishment. There seems to be something. If Tianyun observed carefully, he realized that a small core had begun to condense in the planet in his body. Core. Chapter 964. Tianyun looked at the core in his body in disbelief. In the information he knew, there was no information about this at all. Either it was not recorded, or no one had succeeded. However, he had succeeded now. This meant that the records were not complete. There must have been others who had also cultivated the core. He did not think that he was an exception. However, it was definitely not easy to cultivate it. Could it be that it's easier to condense it in the body because of the direct absorption of the core? Tianyun thought for a while. He could ask Nian Xiu about this next time. They knew more about this. Especially since they had been to the lowest level before, they must have touched it. Asking them was undoubtedly the best outcome. In that case, I don't need to ask them for the core. I can have it myself. Tianyun was excited. If he continued to cultivate it, the core in his body would definitely become larger. When that time came, he could take out a portion of it and give it to the spirit race. Even if he took away a piece of the core, he definitely could not give him too much. After all, other than him, more elders needed to cultivate here. How could he give it away so easily? Of course, there was also a simple and crude method. That was to pull his loved ones in the 3 realms into the planet in his body. After the planet in his body expanded, its surface area was definitely larger than the 3 realms. This was the terrifying power of cultivation. It could even accommodate such a large planet. This was something that you could not have imagined. This was just a thought. If he really transferred those people into the planet in his body, it would undoubtedly be extremely dangerous. If he encountered any danger one day, they would all be in danger. If any energy fluctuations entered his body, it would be extremely dangerous. No matter what, this is a good thing. He did not stand on ceremony. Since the other party had said so, he did not mind even if he sucked this core dry. At most, he would obtain a better ranking in the divine domain battle of ascension. Immediately, he meditated and began to absorb frantically. However, the advancement of the planet did not increase his absorption rate. He still maintained his original state. He maintained his state and continued to absorb. The accumulated experience increased, and he was about to break through. After absorbing for so long, Not only did his planet realm improve, but his cultivation level was also about to break through. Not long after absorbing for a month or so, a pleasant voice sounded. Congratulations to player Yun for having enough experience to level up. Do you want to level up to the 4th Refinement Earth Monarch, or level up to the Lord of Heaven? Level up to the Lord of Heaven. Great gift pack will be invalid. Seeing that he still had a choice, he would definitely not upgrade his cultivation to the Lord of Heaven at this level. Not only would he lose the big gift bag, but his cultivation would also be much weaker. Break through to the 4th Refinement Earth Monarch realm. He didn't think too much and directly chose to raise his cultivation to the 4th Refinement Earth Monarch realm without thinking about anything else. Congratulations to player Yun for successfully breaking through to the 4th Refinement Earth Monarch. He broke through? Yun hurriedly raised his head to look at the sky. As long as he broke through to the 4th refinement of the Earth Monarch realm, he would have to accept the tempering of the heavenly tribulation. He had never experienced a heavenly tribulation before, so he didn't know how powerful it was. In short, there was no mistake in being on guard. Sure enough, the moment he broke through to the 4th refinement Earth Monarch, balls of black tribulation cloud immediately appeared above his head. Thick lightning flashed on top of it, and there were even flames rolling on top of it. When this happened, one cultivator after another suddenly woke up from their meditation and hurriedly looked over. This kid is breaking through now? Is there a mistake? Shouldn't he suppress his cultivation before breaking through? I feel that it's not bad to break through here. After all, the life force here is dense and can quickly heal. They looked at Yun, wanting to see how Yun would break through. If he couldn't withstand the heavenly tribulation, the result would be death. Die. Hurry up and die. When Yuan Tianyu saw Yun experiencing the heavenly tribulation, he could not help but curse out loud. He did not care about any benefits. He only wanted his competitors to die quickly. He did not know who Yun was. He had been cultivating here all this time, so he did not know what was happening outside. However, he felt that there was a strong sense of enmity. If he could eliminate an enemy, it would definitely be a good thing. When the guards above saw the situation, they quickly went to inform Nian Xiaoyu. Before Nian Xiaoyu left, she had instructed these guards to immediately inform her if Yun broke through here. So this is the heavenly tribulation. It does look powerful. Yun looked up at the black clouds above his head. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Heavenly tribulation possesses shocking tribulation lightning and tribulation fire. The beginner-level heavenly tribulation must withstand the dual test of tribulation lightning and tribulation fire. Initial estimation of combat power is 80,000 star power. The highest possible is 200,000 star power. To face such tribulation fire and tribulation lightning as a 4th refinement Earth Monarch, the difficulty was not small, especially when the highest was 200,000 star power. If it was a weaker Earth Monarch, they would definitely be killed under this fierce attack. But to him, this was too easy. The highest was 200,000 star power, not to mention 200,000 star power. He would not even be afraid of 2 million star power. Unfortunately, it is of no use to me at all. Yun stomped on the ground and directly faced the heavenly tribulation. Many cultivators were stunned when they saw Lin Fan charging forward like that. Their expressions were strange. Is he courting death? Even with the support of vitality, it is not that easy to recover. That's right. If the heavenly tribulation is enraged, it can instantly kill a person. All of them thought of the heavenly tribulation they had withstood before, and no one dared to recklessly charge forward, as that would anger the heavenly tribulation. Seems like he thinks he is invincible. If he angers the heavenly tribulation, the power will not be simple. Yuan Tianyu looked at him with a venomous gaze and cursed in his heart. As expected, when Yun faced the heavenly tribulation, the tribulation cloud started to rumble, and its power increased greatly. From the initial 80,000 star power, it suddenly increased to more than 400,000 star power. This was a sign that it was enraged. If he had endured it obediently, the heavenly tribulation would not have such a powerful effect. If he had approached it, it would be different. It was as if his authority was being challenged. After his authority was challenged, the power would increase greatly, reaching a terrifying level. Regardless of whether it was the heavenly tribulation of the fourth refinement of the earth monarch or the later heavenly tribulations, it was the same. If one wanted to forcefully break through the tribulation clouds, there would only be one outcome. The might would be doubled or even multiplied by several times, reaching a terrifying degree. But that was what Etienne did. He did not want to delay, and more importantly, he wanted to feel the effects of the heavenly tribulation. Chapter 965. Boom! A tribulation thunder struck down from the sky, drawing a dazzling white light in the air and striking directly at Etienne. This heavenly thunder had a combat power of 410,000 astral power points. It was so powerful that it was enough to turn an ordinary Earth Lord into charcoal. Get lost! Etienne flicked his hand, and the heavenly thunder was deflected into countless starlight spots. Like fireworks, they scattered in the air, looking rather beautiful. The terrifying heavenly thunder was shattered just like that with a flick of his hand. The cultivators who were watching were dumbfounded. Following that, a tribulation fire turned into a fire dragon and coiled around him, wanting to destroy the person who challenged the authority. His combat power increased instead of decreasing, reaching 450,000 astral power points. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me with these flames? Etienne laughed and slapped again. Bang! The flames that resembled a fire dragon were deflected and turned into sparks that drifted away. It was even more beautiful than the lightning. After deflecting 2 attacks, he charged to the tribulation cloud and reached out to cover it. Boom! A violent force exploded in the center of the tribulation cloud, and the tribulation cloud, which was filled with violent force, was deflected just like that. The tribulation cloud dissipated quickly. At the same time, a ray of light shrouded Etienne, infusing him with new energy. Once he passed the heavens tribulation, he would receive benefits. Immediately after, Etienne was bathed in the energy and his body absorbed it continuously. You have sensed the power of the heavens tribulation. Do you want to absorb it into your body? Absorb! At this moment, a choice appeared. Etienne absorbed the power of the heavens tribulation without hesitation. Anyway, it wouldn't do him any harm. Although there was no record of it, it seemed that breaking the tribulation cloud would bring him many benefits. Ding! Successfully absorbed the power of the heavens tribulation. Obtain the power of the heavens tribulation. Power of the heavens tribulation. Able to release the power of the heavens tribulation to kill the enemy. The power increases as the number of heavens tribulations endured. Note, only after devouring the 9th refinement's heavenly tribulation can it be considered as truly transforming it into your own power. Etienne's eyes lit up. He didn't think that there would be such an effect. However, the difficulty of obtaining it was a little high. At the very least, he had to devour the 9th earthly monarch heavenly tribulation before it could be considered his own strength. This meant that he had to break through to the level of the Lord of Heaven to truly possess it. After all, reaching the 9th refinement of Earth Lord was not perfect. He still lacked the 9th refinement of Heaven's tribulation to be considered complete. It was no wonder that there were no records of it. The difficulty was simply too great. This meant that he had to break the tribulation cloud every time to reach this level. Normally, those who passed the heavenly tribulation would not receive such a reward. At most, some energy would descend and strengthen their physique. It's really good stuff, but it's a bit difficult. Etienne sat down again and continued to cultivate. The onlookers were dumbfounded, but it was reasonable. If Etienne could get to the bottom level, it would not be a problem for him to destroy the tribulation cloud with his own strength. Yuantinho's curse had no effect. Etienne still passed it easily. This made him extremely jealous. When his cultivation was at the same level as Etienne, he couldn't do this. It could be said that he didn't even dare to do this. If he angered the heavenly tribulation, he would be the one to die. Now Etienne did it. His performance was shocking. It made him wonder if Murong Xiao had taken a fancy to Yi Tianyun. In reality, he was thinking too much. Murong Xiao just pouted and said unhappily, "Why are you so arrogant? I can also do this." She stood up and started to jog down. Even if she caught up now, she wouldn't be able to fill the gap between the two of them. She just wanted to prove that she could also go down to the bottom level. Previously, she felt that cultivation was boring. Now, she had some motivation. Yi Tianyun played a certain role. Not long after, Nian Xiu hurried over. When she came to the side and looked down, she saw that Yi Tianyun was calmly cultivating there. She looked at the guard in confusion and asked, "What's the situation? Didn't they say that he was about to break through?" "This heavenly tribulation has been destroyed by young master Yi with one punch." The guard smiled bitterly. Destroyed with one punch? Nian Xiu was shocked. Then, she felt relieved. Okay, it seems that this is not difficult for him. But to be able to destroy the tribulation cloud, this is a lot of benefits for him. She was very satisfied with Yi Tianyun's performance. It was just that she worried for nothing. She even rushed over. In the end, she realized that there was no need to worry so much. Why would she need to worry about an existence with such overwhelming power? Okay, if you want to break through again next time, tell me. After Nian Xiu said that, she turned and left. Next time, the guard looked weird. He turned to look at Yi Tianyun, who was meditating below, and wondered. He just broke through. Is there enough time for him to break through? He didn't believe that Yi Tianyun could break through again in just 2 or 3 years. Even if he is a genius, it will take a long time to break through to the next level, right? Nian Xiu also thought so, until she met Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun still maintained the state of full absorption. He began to absorb desperately. He strives to break through to the 5th refining Lord of Heaven or the 6th refining Lord of Heaven before participating in the divine realm ascending battle. Time passed quickly. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, in a blink of an eye, a year has passed. He is still absorbing, but his level still hasn't increased. The amount of experience required is too much, and it takes a lot of time to absorb, unless he uses crazy experience mode, but that consumes too much crazy point. He has enough time now, and he is not in a hurry. The most important thing is to strengthen the core in his body. In the past year, the core has become a lot bigger, but compared to the life core in front of him, the gap is still too amazing. Like a grain of sand in the desert. No, it should be said that it evolved to the level of a small handful of sand in the desert. Murong Xiao also quickly approached this side during this time. There are only a few people who can stay here and cultivate. Gu Yanlong and the others left early. They don't have time to stay here. If they can, they also want to stay here. From the beginning, there are only 3 people who can stay here. The rest changed batch after batch, and when they see the situation on Yi Tianyun's side, they are extremely shocked. Ding, congratulations to player Yi Tianyun. Enough experience to break through to the 5th refining Earth Monarch. Do you want to level up? The system very appropriately reminded, if you are not prepared, you don't have to rush to level up. Level up! Yi Tianyun chose to level up again without thinking. Chapter 966. After Yi Tianyun leveled up, the tribulation cloud surged in from all directions again. This time, it immediately alarmed the surrounding cultivators, including Yuan Tianyu and Murong Xiao. What's going on? This kid broke through to the 5th refinement Earth Lord so quickly? Yuan Tianyu was so shocked that he almost vomited blood. It had only been a year, and Yi Tianyun was going to undergo tribulation. They all thought that Yi Tianyun was the same as ordinary cultivators. He could only advance after successfully passing the tribulation. This had always been the most basic rule, and no one could change it. However, Yi Tianyun changed this situation. He first broke through successfully and then went to resist the tribulation cloud. This meant that even if he didn't have a powerful cultivation technique, he would still have an advantage over other cultivators. Murong Xiao was also very surprised by Yi Tianyun's breakthrough. After all, it didn't take long. Although his cultivation was lower than theirs, this breakthrough speed was really unprecedented. In such a short period of time, he ushered in another breakthrough. When the guard above saw this, his eyes widened. After a moment, He reacted and hurriedly took out the communication token to inform Nyen Tsiu to rush over. Previously, he didn't believe that Yun could break through. Now, he finally believed that he could continue to break through to another level. Yun broke through again, and many of the guards who had seen Yun's situation before were shocked. Yun ignored them. When the tribulation cloud was condensed, he quickly rushed towards the tribulation cloud. Without exception, the tribulation lightning and tribulation fire merged at the same time and struck down from the sky. The power instantly soared to the level of almost 1,000,000. Compared to the first time he endured the tribulation, it was double. This kind of power was terrifying. It was no wonder that no one dared to anger the tribulation cloud. If one wanted to break through it easily, they had to keep their cultivation suppressed and build a solid foundation before they dared to do so. Otherwise, everything would be finished when the tribulation lightning struck. Get lost! Yun's eyes flashed. Just like that, he simply used his fist to smash it, easily scattering the combined attack of tribulation lightning and tribulation fire. Just like before, brilliant flames burst out in the air. It was very beautiful. After destroying the fusion of tribulation lightning and tribulation fire with one punch, he continued forward and smashed the tribulation cloud with another punch. The result was the same as the first time he broke the tribulation cloud. After being punched, the tribulation cloud quickly dispersed, which made everyone feel a little sorry for it. Under normal circumstances, the tribulation cloud could only be considered to have passed the tribulation successfully after bombarding for at least 2 hours. If he blew it up with a single punch, it would be over immediately. Not only was he fast, but he was also not afraid of being disturbed. Under normal circumstances, if someone interfered with the tribulation, there was a possibility of failure. This was what sinister people would do. If they wanted to kill their enemies, interfering with their tribulation was the best choice. Of course, it was extremely undesirable to help break the tribulation cloud. Instead, they would die first. If there was an interference, there wouldn't be such a problem. To put it bluntly, if they were to resist the tribulation, both themselves and the outsiders would be attacked by a terrifying power. However, outsiders were even more terrifying. Unless their cultivation was heaven-defying, no one would dare to help withstand the tribulation. For example, the Lord of Heaven wouldn't be able to help with the heavenly tribulation of the fourth refinement Earth Lord. At least, the Lord of Heaven would be able to help. As one's cultivation increased, even a stronger God Lord cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand it. Only an expert of a higher level would be able to do it. Because of this, Nyen Tsiu had previously said that when Yun was about to break through, he must look for her to help protect him. If someone interfered, it would undoubtedly be very dangerous. Of course, no one dared to disturb him here. If they were discovered, they would definitely die. Now that Yun broke the tribulation cloud, he quickly sat down and absorbed the energy that descended. He easily broke through to the fifth refinement Earth Lord, and his cultivation was flying. It ended just like that. Many guards opened their mouths wide and couldn't close them. It was fine that the first tribulation cloud was easily broken, but the second tribulation cloud was also broken. It meant how stable one's foundation was. One could even say that it was terrifyingly strong. Very quickly, Nyen Tsiu rushed over. When she saw that the situation had calmed down, she was startled. It was easily broken again. Elder Nyen, you are right. It was indeed like that. He broke it with one punch. The guards smiled bitterly and felt that they had lived their lives for nothing. They couldn't be compared at all. It seems like I don't need to help protect him. I wonder if he will be able to break through in the following period of time? Nyen Tsiu had some expectations for Yun. There wasn't much time left, just less than 2 years. At first, it was said that there was less than 5 years, but in reality, there was only 2 to 3 years. The journey would take a lot of time, and there would be other preparation time. Thus, the time left wasn't long, and there were less than 2 years left. He can still break through? The guards swallowed their saliva. They didn't believe it. Could he still break through? If he continued to break through, he would be the sixth refinement Earth Lord. Who knew if he would be able to break through the tribulation cloud? Everyone looked at Yun. They didn't know if it was like what you said, that he would be able to break through in the remaining time. The surrounding situation calmed down very quickly. Etianyin acted like he didn't feel anything and continued to cultivate below. He wasn't satisfied and felt that he could continue to break through. The remaining time was enough for him to break through and reach the 6th refinement Earth Lord cultivation. Time passed quickly. Etianyin continued to cultivate, and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and immediately rushed up from where he was. It was difficult to fly here. Under the terrifying gravity, it was quite difficult to fly unless one left this region. However, one could still fly. What's going on? Murong Xiao stood up. She had finally caught up with great difficulty, and Etianyin was going to leave. Etianyin ignored her and ran forward quickly. His speed became faster and faster, and in the blink of an eye, he ran up. When he reached the back, he directly flew upwards. Not long after, he disappeared from everyone's sight. They had no idea what was going on. What's going on with him? Everyone was dumbfounded, including the guards. They didn't know what happened to Etianyin and why he left in a hurry. Young Master wait a moment. Where are you going? After the guard reacted, he quickly chased after Etianyin and wanted to ask where he was going. You had told him that if Etianyin left, he had to ask clearly. After all, there wasn't much time left until the Ascension Battle of the God Realm. He definitely couldn't run around. But when he went out, he realized that the outside was empty. He didn't know where everyone went. What's going on? He left so quickly. It can't be, right? He felt that it was inconceivable. Even if it was the Lord of Heaven level, it was impossible for him to disappear in this region so quickly, right? The problem was that Etianyin didn't fly. He used the Transfer Divine Stone and chose to return to the 3 realms. Because the array set up by the 3 realms was touched, it meant that there was an enemy attack. Chapter 967. The situation in the 3 realms was very harmonious. Because of Etianyin's rule, there were very few wars in the 3 realms. On the contrary, it had always been a tradition, which was to select geniuses. Once the top geniuses were selected, they would be nurtured with more resources. This was for the prosperity of the 3 realms, and it was necessary to do so. It was not a good thing to have internal strife. Therefore, the situation has been in a positive state. With the support of a large number of resources, there were several Saint King Peak stage powerhouses and even one God King stage powerhouse. Of course, the God King stage powerhouse didn't come from other divine kingdoms, but the ancient Ming divine kingdom's powerhouses. Therefore, there was no chaos in the 3 realms, and the situation became more stable. If it had been any other divine nation, it might have fallen into chaos. After all, everyone had different ideas. Some people were more violent and liked to dominate the world. They thought that they were invincible, and they didn't want to accept the rule of the Heavenly Clouds Empire. Although the Heavenly Clouds Empire didn't intervene, they always felt that they were suppressed. Of course, some people were not convinced. However, the appearance of a God King could only be from a force that had a relationship with Etianyin. After all, only a powerful force could have a priority to have a God King. The ancient Ming Divine Kingdom, Fengtian Divine Kingdom, and the others had a good relationship with him. Therefore, they all followed the Heavenly Clouds Empire's lead and wouldn't replace it. They believed that Etianyin would come back. If anyone had a different idea, once Etianyin came back, everything would be over. At the same time, there was such a discussion in the ancient Ming Divine Tower. Patriarch, you have broken through to the Divine King stage. Divine King Tianyin hasn't come back for a long time. Maybe he is already. The elder next to him hesitated. After thinking for a while, he said firmly, "Why don't you choose to rule the entire 3 realms? It will be of great benefit to our divine kingdom of Gumming. Who would dare to disobey a God King stage powerhouse?" When their patriarch had a breakthrough, many elders' ambitions began to grow. What nonsense are you talking about? At this time, a beautiful figure stood up from the side and glared at them. God King Tianyin has helped us a lot. Do you want to overthrow the peace that we have always had? She was Fan Shueshuan, the one whom Tianyin had helped before. She had made a huge breakthrough in her cultivation. "Princess, it's not like that," they said awkwardly. "We're just suggesting it. After all, the heavenly cloud divine king has been gone for so long. Maybe he's the same as the heaven-creating divine king." "I won't." Fan Shueishuan glared at them and said, "Divine King Skycloud isn't like the others. He will definitely come back. Furthermore, the danger is not over yet. It will definitely come back to protect us." Many elders shook their heads. Ancient Underworld Divine King had said the same thing before he left. But when the battle with the evil spirit race really broke out, did they return? He had never returned. It had been thousands of years, and he had never returned. It wasn't that they didn't believe in Tianyun, but with an example in front of them, how could they believe it? "That's enough. There's no need to talk about this anymore. We just need to properly manage the ancient underworld divine pagoda. As for the rest, it's not within our scope of management. If the heavenly cloud divine nation is in trouble, we will stand up and help. It's that simple." The patriarch looked at them and said in a deep voice, "Whether they will decline in the future or not has nothing to do with us. But at least I'm still alive, so I won't let others intervene in this matter." Yes, they could only nod. After all, the power was not in their hands. Except for the ancient underworld divine pagoda, other forces also had the same idea. They had been calm for a long time. Just when they thought that everything would continue like this, the sky suddenly turned dark and a terrible force pressed down from the sky. The thick shield outside was almost penetrated. The cultivators inside were all shocked and rushed out of the houses in a hurry. Looking up at the sky, they found that there were several spirit ships in the sky, and there were densely packed evil spirit race outside, crazily attacking the shield. Sure, Shuiyun and the others came out of the imperial capital one after another. When they saw the situation above, their expressions changed. They quickly crushed the jade pendants in their hands and began to prepare for war. They had been preparing for war for a long time, and everything was just to defend their own territory. The situation of the ancient underworld divine pagoda was the same. It suddenly started to devour, which meant that someone had broken into the area of the ancient underworld divine pagoda. One by one, they rushed out and found that the outside was already occupied by the evil spirit race. Fan Honda quickly rushed out, passed through the shield, and easily killed a group of Saint King stage evil spirit race outside. At the same time, he saw the scene outside clearly. In addition to the 3 spirit ships, there were many evil spirit race flying in the sky. Most of them were Saint King stage evil spirit race, followed by God King stage evil spirit race. The number of these evil spirit race was amazing, and it felt like a city had been emptied. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of Saint King stage evil spirit race. And as for God King stage evil spirit race, there were hundreds of God King stage evil spirit race. In addition, Fan Honda could feel a terrifying strength emanating from the 3 spirit ships. Just by sensing it, he felt his scalp tingle. It's too terrible. What kind of power is this? Fan Honda's heart trembled. Even if he was at the first stage God King stage evil spirit race, his whole body trembled when facing so much power. The gap between the two was too big. Any one of them could easily crush him. Some people even said that they wanted to unify the 3 realms. Now, it seemed that it was a joke. The other party casually sent out an existence that could crush him. Unifying the 3 realms was just a bubble. No wonder the God Kings chose to leave. Oh, I didn't expect that there would be a Star Monarch powerhouse in this corner. But that's not right. I heard that there should be a Lord of Heaven here. Otherwise, how could so many people we sent out be annihilated? Immediately, a figure walked out of the spirit ship. His whole body was releasing a terrible cultivation, and he had 12 arms on his back. However, his cultivation was not at the Star Monarch or Earth Monarch level, but the cultivation of the Lord of Heaven. 2 other Lord of Heaven powerhouses also walked out of the other 2 spirit ships. Their eyes were full of contempt. The evil spirit race actually sent out a large group of powerhouses and 3 Lord of Heaven for the 3 realms. This was no longer like occupying the 3 realms. It felt like they were going to flatten the 3 realms. This was too extravagant. I'm not too sure about this. They just want to occupy the three realms. It's on the way anyway. There's a good planet nearby. If they didn't want to occupy it, why would they send out so many people? These trash humans can be easily dealt with. None of them put Fan Honda in their eyes. In their eyes, he was just like trash. Chapter 968. The three Lord of Heaven waved their hands and gestured for their subordinates to attack. A large group of God King and Saint King experts. They were Star Lords. As for Saint King experts, they were not called Saint Kings in the divine realm, but mortal lords. This meant that they were still in the category of ordinary strength. They did not have the power of the stars. Of course, they were mortal lords. In an instant, a large group of experts pounced down, and with a ferocious pressure, the barrier was crushed like paper paste. Etienne's protective shield, including the one set up by the three great god kings, were all crushed by the pressure. What 10 stars? What ancient Ming divine pagoda? At most, they could kill some mortal lords or ordinary star lords. Because there were too many of them, and with the support of the three Lord of Heaven, the protective shield was immediately crushed. Fan Honda's back was drenched in cold sweat. He wanted to kill the other enemies, but he found that he could not move at all. His body was locked in place, and he could not move at all. An invisible force surrounded his body, making him feel that he could not move at all. As long as the other side squeezed gently, he would be easily crushed. What do you want to do? If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't talk nonsense. Fan Honda was not afraid of death, but he felt sad. He had cultivated for so many years, thinking that breaking through to the God King stage would make the three realms safer. Now it seemed that it was all nonsense. Even if there were 4 or 5 more God Kings, it would be like trying to put out a burning cart of firewood with a cup of water. Kill you? Of course not. We want to see what's going on here. We sent so many people here, and they all died. You should know that they are quite strong. Even if they are a group of trash, they should not die without knowing why. Heavenly Lord Sakya's soul looked at him coldly and opened his mouth slightly, revealing his terrifying white teeth. That's true. Let's see if there are other forces down there. Maybe there are other Lord of Heaven hiding in some corner, or a stronger Earth Lord. Otherwise, how could they have dealt with our people so easily? The Lord of Heaven did not care much about what was going on here. He was not interested in facing some ants. I checked earlier. The strongest person in this small world is this star venerate before me. Sakya, Lord of Heaven, who had an eye on his forehead, slowly opened his eyes. It was as if nothing could escape the detection of the spiritual eye on his forehead. The three of them were the Sakyamuni brothers, the three Lord of Heaven, killing machines that belonged to the evil spirit race. This time, they felt that they had made a mountain out of a molehill. A small planet required the three of them to make a move. This made them very unhappy and felt that they had been underestimated. However, they had no other choice. Their boss had asked them to come over, so they could only follow orders. The strongest is the Star Lord? They frowned. If the Star Lord was the strongest, it was impossible for all the people sent out to be annihilated. Speak. Who is your helper? Which force is he from? They looked at Fan Honda, waiting for him to explain the situation. I don't know, Fan Honda said solemnly. You don't know? Sakya Soul's eyes were ice cold as he grinned and said, Of course, we don't mind using a soul search to search all your memories and see what you were thinking. They were not worried that Fan Honda would not say anything. As long as they used a soul search, they could easily deal with him. Fan Honda began to struggle. He couldn't even choose to self-destruct. His body was completely imprisoned. Not only could he not escape, he couldn't even choose to commit suicide. He was worried that all his memories would be dug out. This would undoubtedly expose Etienne's situation. Even if he died, Etienne would not be a problem. At least with Etienne around, they still had hope of revenge. He believed that if the other party invaded, this place would definitely be destroyed. Perhaps it would be devoured, and not a single one would be left alive. If Etienne and the others were still alive, then there would at least be hope. Do you think it's possible to commit suicide? They sneered. They felt that Fan Honda was overestimating himself and wanted to commit suicide in front of them. If he could commit suicide in front of them, then they would really have no face left. Fan Honda gritted his teeth. He could only watch helplessly as the other party used a soul search on him. As for biting his tongue to commit suicide, it was meaningless for someone at his level. Can I escape the fate of being destroyed? Fan Honda felt very sad. He had paid such a high price to defend this place, but in the end, it was still going to end. Not only was the situation above controlled, but the situation below was also quickly suppressed. A large number of Saint King Stage and God King Stage powerhouses were suppressing them. How could they resist? When Shi Shuiyun and the others were ready, suddenly, an eagle flew out from the bottom of the heavenly cloud divine kingdom and rushed directly towards the evil spirit race. When everyone saw this eagle, they were taken aback. Usually, this eagle didn't move at all. It just ate and slept, and when it woke up, it would eat again. It never listened to anyone's orders, not even Shi Shuiyun. Because it was left by Tianyun, no one paid attention to it, and no one dared to interfere. But at this moment, it suddenly rushed up and didn't listen to anyone's orders. It seemed like it was going to die. What's going on with this giant eagle? Shi Shuiyun and the others were puzzled. When the giant hawk pounced forward, the evil spirit race did not even look at it. He grabbed the giant hawk and stuffed it into his mouth, easily swallowing it. It's dead. They thought that the giant eagle would do something, but it was killed just like that. Everything happened so fast that no one knew what happened. Kill! Shi Shuiyun's eyes were cold. Her cultivation had broken through to the Saint King Stage, so she had a chance of winning against the Saint King Stage powerhouse. At the same time, a group of demon beasts rushed up madly. These were all Tianyun's pets. However, the highest cultivation was at the peak of the Saint King Stage. Because the distance was too far, they couldn't get experience when Tianyun killed them. Obviously, there was a distance limit. If there was no limit, these pets would have broken through to the Earth Monarch stage. Haha, these are some low-level demon beasts, but they can still be eaten. These evil spirit race laughed loudly, grabbed the pets, and stuffed them into their mouths, eating them very sweetly. They were completely abused, and they didn't even have the strength to fight back. Shio! A cold light cut through the sky, and a Saint King Stage evil spirit race person was easily cut in half. Shi Shuiyun's white clothes fluttered gently, and her bulging belly could be seen. It has been several years, but she didn't give birth to a child. She had been pregnant for too long. However, in the face of this battle, she could only come out and fight. No one could hide. Even if someone told her to hide, she must fight. This woman, eat her! An evil spirit race demon god on the side looked at her coldly and opened his huge mouth to swallow her. Shi Shuiyun's face changed, and she quickly waved her sword several times, and the ultimate sword light slashed on his body, but nothing happened. The gap in cultivation was too big, and skills alone couldn't make up for it. Child, it seems that we won't be able to see your father come back. Shi Shuiyun bit her lips and resolutely waved her sword. She knew that it was useless to escape. The gap in cultivation was too big, and there was no way to escape. We will see him. A familiar figure suddenly appeared in the sky. That sturdy and reliable figure appeared in everyone's line of sight. Chapter 969. The familiar figure did not look tall and sturdy, but it was like a majestic mountain that stood in front of everyone, blocking any disaster. Tianyun, Shi Shuiyun's eyes were filled with tears of joy. The original despair was replaced by tears of joy. Who would have thought that Tianyun would still rush back at such a critical moment, as if he had predicted danger and quickly rushed over from outside? Of course, Tianyun did not rush back because he had predicted danger, but because he had some tricks up his sleeves. The first was a restriction outside. Once it was destroyed, it would notify him. Obviously, this had failed. He did not even feel anything when it was destroyed. The distance was too far. He did not even feel anything when it was destroyed. As there was no way to test it, he prepared a second method, which was pets. Once the pets died, he would definitely know. This was because he had a pet status bar. Once they died, it would immediately be displayed. They could not enjoy experience points, but if they died, they would definitely immediately send a message. The main reason for these two methods was because they did not have enough ability to carve high-grade jade pendants. If there was a problem, they would still be able to send a message. This was just like how the evil spirit race would know after demon god Long Yu and the others died. Thus, the giant eagle immediately rushed up and chose to commit suicide. This was the order that Tianyun had given. Although it was sacrificing the pet, this was the second method. The result was obvious. He immediately felled it in the life god palace, allowing him to quickly rush up from the lowest point and spend a little time. Actually, he could be faster, which was to disappear on the spot. However, it would undoubtedly attract everyone's attention. This was not a good method. Of course, if it took a long time to go up, he would definitely use the teleportation godstone immediately. With a human life at stake, everything else had to be put aside. Fortunately, it did not take too long to go up. In less than half a minute, he rushed up in one go. From the looks of it, the time was very reasonable. It was not too slow, nor too fast. It was just enough to catch up. "I'm back, leave it to me." Tianyun waved his hand lightly, and Shi Shiyin was sent down by this energy, preventing her from being affected. Die. The evil spirit race demon god could not be bothered with the person who had suddenly appeared. As long as he was not of the same race, they would not hesitate to devour him. Scram! Tianyun extended his hand and flicked it, releasing a formless energy. The pouncing evil spirit race immediately turned into a pile of blood mist and dissipated in the air. The evil spirit race members at the side were all dumbfounded. This was a demon god, a god king, which was equivalent to a star venerate. How could it be killed so easily? Equip the Sword Saint set. Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he instantly equipped the Sword Saint set. He didn't need a powerful set, just the Sword Saint set was enough. Most of the weapons here were at the Divine Artifact level, and that was just a few of them. Most of them were at the Sacred Artifact level, so the Sacred Sword set was enough. Immediately after, tens of thousands of holy artifacts floated in the air. He aimed at the evil spirit race rankers who were pouncing down and lightly pointed, "Kill." Swish, swish, swish. The attacks that were like a rain of swords pierced through the air. In the blink of an eye, a large number of evil spirit race experts were easily killed, turning into piles of experience. His harvest was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, many evil spirit race experts were killed. Due to the significant increase in his cultivation, there was an amazing breakthrough in his control. Even if it was only at the sacred artifact level, it was easy for him to deal with demon gods. With the help of many EXP cards, Tianyun's experience continued to rise. Ding! Successfully killed evil spirit race expert, Star Lord 2nd level, gained 365. 8 billion EXP, 7. 8 million crazy points, 100,000 SPs, obtained evil spirit soul, evil spirit blood. Ding! Successfully killed evil spirit race expert, Star Lord 3rd level, gained Tianyun's experience increased explosively, which made him feel very satisfied. Sure enough, only by killing evil spirit race experts can I gain experience faster. Tianyun gained a lot of EXP in the Life Temple, but it was not enough to kill so many evil spirit race experts. With the help of many EXP cards, there was an amazing explosive effect. Of course, there were not so many evil spirit race experts for him to kill at every moment. Therefore, in the overall situation, it was better to cultivate in the life core. Moreover, the life core could also increase the power of the planets in his body. Run! Run! When the evil spirit race experts saw Tianyun's killing intent, they turned around and fled, seeking help from the Lord of Heaven. But what greeted them was thousands of swords piercing their hearts. Tianyun will not let any of them go. He will make them stay here. He will not let them escape. Tianyun killed all the evil spirit race experts along the way, and soon, he rushed out of the 3 realms. When he saw the 3 Lord of Heaven outside, he stretched out his hand, and a violent energy quickly wrapped around Fan Honda and dragged him over. Sakia's eyes narrowed. His imprisonment actually failed, and he was forcibly dragged over by the other party. What's going on? There is another Earth Lord? Saki's eyes shrunk. He just searched inside and out, but he didn't find any trace of Etianyun. So he was surprised that Etianyun suddenly appeared. Saki's eyes. It seems like your eyes are a bit blurry. Sakia dragon teased. Such a big fish, he actually could not detect it. Three Lord of Heaven. I have to say, the evil spirit race really thinks highly of our three realms. Etianyun sized up the three Lord of Heaven. Their cultivations were all around the first and second levels of the Lord of Heaven. In fact, the first and second levels of the Lord of Heaven could be very powerful, but their highest level was the seventh level of the Earth Lord. It was really not enough for him. Without an Earth Lord above the eighth level, there was really no meaning in breaking through. However, this was based on him breaking through several levels. If he did not leave this place to go to the divine realm, the three Lord of Heaven would definitely die. Now it was different. Not only did he have the cultivation of the fifth level of the Earth Lord, he also had the 64 times crazy mode. If not me, who else? Indeed, we all feel that we have overestimated you. Three Lord of Heaven and a large group of experts. Do you think you are worthy? Sakia's soul laughed disdainfully. Even if we do not make a move, the others are enough to trample you all. That is true. Etianyun stretched out his hand and smiled. Come over here. In the next moment, a figure appeared out of thin air. It was Lei Jingyu from before. When he first appeared, he was still confused. He did not know what was going on. He just appeared here. Bossy? When Lei Jingyu saw Etianyun, he felt very puzzled. Etianyun looked for him. Of course, because he needed help, Lei Jingyu's cultivation was not weak. He could help him deal with a group of people. Since he was accepted as a god general, he was not worried that Lei Jingyu would betray him. Chapter 970. Brother Lei, help me get rid of these guys, but not in this area, but in the area below. Etianyun was referring to the netherworld. With his cultivation, getting rid of them would not be a problem. Especially with the mid-grade reincarnation level weapon he had given him, he would definitely be able to crush these demon gods. So it's the trash of the evil spirit race, no problem. Lei Jingyu did not know what was going on when he was summoned. But since Etianyun had said so, he would not delay at all, especially since he knew the evil spirit race. In the next moment, Lei Jingyu flew towards the netherworld, turned into a bolt of lightning, and disappeared in front of everyone. Following that, a pitch-black light chased after him. Its speed was several times faster than Lei Jingyu's. However, Etianyun's figure was even faster. In the blink of an eye, he flashed in front of the attack, stretched out his hand, and smacked the attack away. The three Lord of Heaven sent by the evil spirit race are looking down on the three realms, but I have to say that they are still too weak. If you want to deal with the three realms, you need to be at least at the divine Lord level of cultivation. Understand? Etianyun grinned, and his gaze immediately locked on his Shakyamon. Shakyamon's cultivation was the lowest, so he would be the first target. Only the divine Lord can deal with you. The three of them were startled, and then they laughed out loud. This is simply nonsense, and you still want to use the divine Lord to deal with you? We admit that you are quite capable, but you can't even handle the three of US Lord of Heaven. Is that so? In my opinion, you are just a pile of trash. Etianyun stretched out his hand and lightly pointed, and the flying swords around him quickly flew towards the heaven realm. With his current ability, he could control the flying swords to attack anywhere in the three realms, so he could easily eradicate the evil spirit race in the heaven realm. Shakyamon's gaze turned cold. He opened his huge hand and grabbed the flying swords that were flying towards the heaven realm, instantly enveloping the entire sky. Controlling the sky with one hand, this was the power of the Lord of Heaven. The cultivators below were all stunned. Even a god king wouldn't be able to do this, right? With one hand holding the entire sky, it could be said that he had covered up the entire place, making it impossible to see anything clearly. On the other hand, it could be imagined that he could directly crush the mortal world with his hand, just like crushing a small stone. He wanted to intercept these flying swords. They could see that these flying swords were quite powerful. If they were allowed to fly past, their subordinates would definitely be killed. God King Skycloud. They were all worried about Etianyan. Shi Shuyan rubbed her stomach and looked up at Etianyan in the sky. Although it hadn't been many years since they last met, seeing him again made her feel very at ease. However, right now, they were extremely worried. They had never seen this power before, and even though they were below, they could feel their bodies trembling. It wasn't that they were afraid, but this force made their bodies tremble involuntarily. With these flying swords? Then I'll intercept them all. Let's see how you're going to resist then. Boom! Before any of them could react, Shakyamuni had been blasted into a bloody mist. The mist continued to fall from the sky. It was a beautiful sight to behold. Who told you to intercept my flying swords? Etianyan's figure appeared next to Shakyamuni. There wasn't a single trace of blood on his body. As for Shakyamuni, he had already been blasted into a bloody mist. God King Sky Cloud. Fan Hongda, who was rescued, looked at Etianyan in shock. He didn't expect that Etianyan would really come back. Previously, the elder of the ancient Ming divine pagoda wanted to unify the three realms. Now, he suddenly appeared, and his power was so terrifying. If he really wanted to unify the three realms and drive the heavenly cloud divine nation off the altar, then the ancient Ming divine pagoda would be destroyed. Fortunately, he didn't do that. Otherwise, after the evil spirit race was destroyed, the ancient Ming divine pagoda would be finished. Etianyan nodded. He didn't know about these things. He immediately controlled the flying swords to fly towards the heavenly realm. Soon, those flying swords joined the battlefield and reaped the lives of the evil spirit race. Now that the three realms had defenses, the situation in the three realms was quickly stabilized. There were no large-scale casualties. The remaining two Lord of Heaven were shocked. Shakyamuni, whose cultivation was almost the same as theirs, was killed in the blink of an eye. They didn't even have a chance to react. Are you the one who killed our companions? Their faces were gloomy, as if they were facing a great enemy. They quickly became alert and didn't dare to relax. The contempt in their eyes disappeared and was replaced by a sense of solemnity and crisis. Yes, is there a problem? Etianyan looked at them and said indifferently, batch after batch, it seems that the core here is quite attractive to you. Yes, the core of this place is very good. I admit that your strength isn't weak, but compared to us, you are still too weak. If you hand over the core and join us, we, the evil spirit race, are willing to not hold you responsible. We will even arrange a good planet for you to stay and settle down. They started to put forward their conditions for negotiation. Only when their strength was equal would they have the right to negotiate. Arrange a good planet? I think that planet doesn't have a core at all. A planet without a core has such a thin energy. To me, it's no different from trash. Etianyan sneered. Moreover, I've already said that I'll kill as many as you come. No matter what the conditions are, I'll kill without mercy. There were many planets outside, many larger than the three realms, but these planets didn't have cores. A planet without a core was like a huge rock. It was impossible for life to grow, and it was of no help to nurture life. As soon as he finished speaking, Etianyan took a step in the air and charged towards the two of them. The two of them immediately roared and erupted with all their strength. Their bodies emitted a golden light, and their originally pitch-black bodies became as dazzling as gold. They felt that their defense had increased by a large amount, and they could shake the heavens and shake the earth. How can a grain of rice compete? Etianyan's eyes flowed with a red light, and a shocking killing intent was released from the red energy crystal in his body, enveloping the two of them. This killing intent was absorbed from the god-killing pagoda. Now that it was released, it instantly pierced into their heads. In the next moment, a wave of killing intent surged in their hearts, and the vision in front of them gradually turned red. This killing intent immediately affected their rationality. Sakyahan seemed to have gone crazy as he pounced towards Etianyan. However, he didn't use any martial arts, nor did he use any weapons. He only used his fists to smash forward. But could he win with just these few things? He didn't even use his strongest power. This was the use of killing intent. It could make the opponent lose their rationality, but they couldn't even use any weapons or techniques. They were like idiots. Chapter 971. Sakya-hun was immediately affected by Yi Tianyun's murderous aura, but Sakya-I's situation was slightly better, especially the eye on his forehead. He can still hold on and not be affected by the murderous aura. But Sakya-hun wasn't so lucky. He roared and rushed towards Yi Tianyun. He didn't use any power. He just rushed towards Yi Tianyun like a fool. "Wake up!" Sakya-I roared. A strong sound wave came out of his mouth and hit Sakya-hun's soul, trying to wake him up. Sakya-hun's body shook under this roar. His eyes that were filled with red light gradually began to return to normal color. He didn't expect Sakya-I to be able to break Yi Tianyun's murderous aura. Of course, this doesn't make much sense. Yi Tianyun's figure has already rushed over, and with the heavenly divine spear in his hand, he pierced through Sakya-hun's body. Sakya-hun just woke up. The white light penetrated his huge body, accompanied by a bang sound. Sakya-hun was easily killed, turned into a lot of EXP. Ding. Successfully killed Sakya-hun. Gained 637 billion EXP, 11 million CPS1. 7 million SPs. Obtained Evil Spirit's Soul, Evil Spirit's Blood, Evil Spirit's Bone. A lot of EXP kept popping up. If he absorbed the energy from the life core before, it would take him a long time to get so much EXP. Of course, this was only possible with the help of the experience card. If it weren't for the fact that his cultivation is too low, he would have directly entered the evil spirit race's ancestral land and started a massacre. At that time, his cultivation level will definitely soar. It will be much better than cultivating in the Life Temple. Sakya-hun? Sakya-I's eyes were red. These are his brothers. 2 of them were killed in a blink of an eye. How can he not be angry but also sad? Oh, you can still feel sad? Yi Tianyun looked at him and said with a faint smile, "I thought you were cold-blooded. You don't have any feelings of sadness. I swear that even if I die, our evil spirit race will completely flatten your world." Sakya roared with red eyes. Seeing his angry roar, Yi Tianyun sneered and said, "Oh, now you know how it feels when your brother dies? We, the 3 realms, have never provoked you, but because of you, countless people have died. Or rather, the weak are prey to the strong. That's very good. I will let your evil spirit race know what the law of the jungle is. Ha ha ha, delusional human race. Even if I give you 10,000 years, you won't be able to catch up to our evil spirit race." Sakya's eyes were filled with anger as he smiled. At the same time, he condensed the strongest strength in his body, ready to erupt at any time. "Don't worry. Even if I really can't deal with you, I'll keep pestering you. I'll kill every one of you I see, and I'll run away after I kill one. I'd like to see how many of you there are for me to kill." Yi Tianyun's voice was icy cold, his eyes filled with determination. Even if he couldn't win, wouldn't he escape if he did? He didn't need to kill his way into the ancestral land. He just needed to find them, and when they left to do their missions, he could harvest them. Sakya's eyes narrowed. The fact that Yi Tianyun could easily kill his brother meant that he had the power of the Lord of Heaven. If there was an extremely shameless Lord of Heaven that constantly interfered with them, it would really be a headache. Then go to hell. Sakya's eyes revealed a trace of a sneer as he extended his hand towards Yi Tianyun's head. A sure-kill divine light shot out from the eye on his forehead. The pitch-black light was like a black hole that could devour everything as it pierced towards Yi Tianyun. The area that was touched was immediately engulfed by this energy, causing the surroundings to turn pitch black. Even more space began to collapse. The space of the 3 realms was completely unable to withstand this terrifying power. A large area was engulfed by this light. It had been daytime just a moment ago, but in the blink of an eye, it had turned into a pitch-black night sky. It seemed that while Sakya's eyes were negotiating with Yi Tianyun, he was actually accumulating power and unleashing his strongest attack. Facing this power that could penetrate everything, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed, and he waved his hand to block this attack. Boom, boom, boom. Violent attacks continuously bombarded Yi Tianyun's body. Following that, the pitch-black light turned into a black ball of light that enveloped him. Ha, what an idiot. Did you really think that we would recruit you? Sakia's eyes were filled with resentment. When you killed my brother, you were destined to die. Sakia's eyes had only casually said a few words. He definitely wouldn't choose to recruit Etianyan. How could he let go of an enemy who had killed so many of his comrades? Unless Etianyan's cultivation was strong enough to make the evil spirit race fear him, they wouldn't even think about recruiting him. No one would be willing to recruit an enemy. God King Skycloud. When they saw the situation above, they felt as if their hearts were being tightly strangled. They didn't know how Etienne's situation was. Being hit by such a terrifying power head-on, he definitely wouldn't feel good, right? Rip, the pitch-black void was suddenly torn apart, and the originally pitch-black sky returned to normal. Etienne's figure reappeared in front of everyone. His body was completely unharmed, and his entire body was covered in red dragon scales. If one looked closely, they wouldn't even look like dragon scales. Instead, they looked like layers of thick red crystals that covered the surface of his body. They possessed astonishing defensive power. This is your power? Etianyan looked down at him and said coldly, if the evil spirit race only has this kind of power, I'll flatten your ancestral land tomorrow. No, impossible. Sakia's eyes had used all his strength. The attack was filled with dense death energy, and it could corrode everything, but it couldn't even corrode a single hair on Etienne's body. It couldn't even break a piece of the crystals on his body, let alone his skin. He was completely unharmed. I hope the evil spirit race will send more experts next time. These are too weak. After saying that, Etienne held the heavenly divine spear tightly and pierced through. Extreme radiance. His eyes flashed, and the spear in his hand flickered with a cold light, turning into an extreme light that cut through the sky. Unlike the attack of Sakia's eyes, it was a warm light that bathed the surroundings, making people feel very comfortable. When Sakia's eyes opened his mouth to say something, it was already too late. He could only see his vision covered by the white light, and then all his consciousness disappeared. Actually, he wanted to say that Etianyan couldn't deal with the evil spirit race, but Etianyan didn't want to listen to his long-winded words anymore. Bang! Sakia's eyes exploded in the air, turning into a blood mist that was quickly evaporated by the extreme white light. Chapter 972. The three Lord of Heaven were easily taken care of, as if they were drinking water. Etianyan felt that the difference between him and those death gods was too great. Those death god generals were much stronger than them. Back then, he had easily taken care of them. Now that he had a breakthrough in his cultivation, under crazy mode, these people were nothing but trash. After killing the three Lord of Heaven, Etianyan immediately went to support the other two worlds. He used his strongest power to sweep over, and wherever he went, a bloody mist would erupt. The three Lord of Heaven were gone, which meant that what was left was a group of defenseless evil spirit races that could be easily taken care of. Ding! Congratulations to player Etianyan for successfully reaching the level of the 6 refinements Earth Lord. Do you want to level up now? Not for now. Etianyan was not surprised. There were so many evil spirit races here, and after killing them all, he would be able to earn a lot. It was not surprising that he would be able to obtain the experience needed to level up, especially before he returned. He had absorbed a lot of experience. After returning and earning a lot of money, he could easily level up. This was just as he had said. This group of evil spirit races were here to give him experience. The other party was already very cautious, sending out 3 Lord of Heaven cultivators. There were very few Earth Lords in Fanyu, and even if there were, sending out 3 Lord of Heaven would not be a problem at all. However, the one guarding the 3 realms was not an ordinary person, but Etianyan. In such a short period of time, he had already successfully broken through to the level of the 6 refinements Earth Lord. It was truly difficult for anyone to compare to him. If they sent out a peak-level Lord of Heaven or a Divine Lord, it would be difficult for him to make a comeback. Of course, it was impossible for the other party to send such a powerful existence over. Originally, sending out 3 Lord of Heaven was already overestimating the other party, and they even sent out a divine lord. It was not that they could not send out a divine lord, but it was a waste of resources. Divine lords were not cabbages. They did not want to waste their time in this area and had their own things to do. However, after this matter, it was hard to say whether or not the other party would send out a divine lord. The three Lord of Heaven had all died here. The loss was quite severe. In that case, they had no choice but to send a divine lord to suppress them. At this point, it was no longer a core problem of the three realms, but a problem of their own reputation. The higher one's cultivation, the more they valued their dignity. They had sent out so many experts, yet they were all annihilated. How could they swallow this insult? Next time, there might be a divine lord or an existence with the cultivation of a later stage of the Lord of Heaven. Etienne's eyes flashed as he felt the pressure increasing. Unless he transferred everyone away, it would be too difficult. As for moving the three realms, that was even more difficult. He reckoned that even a divine lord would not be able to do it. To the other worlds, the three realms was not considered huge. It was just that it was rather difficult to store a world into one's body. Even the planet in Etienne's body was several times larger than the three realms. However, it was too difficult to forcefully absorb a planet into one's body. It required a lot of power. At the very least, he was unable to do it now. He could only absorb the cultivator into the planet in his body. This was the simplest and most crude method. However, this meant that he would have to leave the three realms. Was he going to abandon his hometown just like that? Could it be that I can only continue to resist or destroy the evil spirit race's ancestral land? Etienne frowned. This would easily make him unable to breathe. Time was too tight, and the pressure was even more astonishing. If he could temporarily hide, it would be a situation that he would be extremely happy to see. He thought for a moment and shifted his gaze to the interior of the three realms. His eyes immediately lit up. Core. He thought of the core of the three realms. The other party wanted to occupy the three realms because they had their eyes on the core of the three realms. If he took out the core and stuffed it into another planet, wouldn't that be equivalent to transferring it? Everything depended on this core. As long as the core was transferred, everything would be fine. Very good, then I'll go take a look at the situation of the core later. Etienne flew back and landed beside Shuyin. He hugged her and comforted her. I've frightened you. Don't press me. Shuyin gently pushed him away and rubbed her stomach in dissatisfaction. Don't be so forceful. You're going to press on the child. When Etienne saw Shuyun's bulging stomach, he immediately said in ecstasy, This is our child? Nonsense. Could it be someone else's child? Shuyun rolled her eyes at him. This? Etienne scratched his head. As it was too sudden, he really did not react. Speaking of which, how long have you been pregnant for? It doesn't look big. Shuyun's stomach was not considered big. It was only slightly bulging, but it was not very obvious. I've been pregnant for almost 10 years. Shuyun rolled her eyes at him and said, Looks like our child is so special. It hasn't been born even after 10 years of pregnancy. 10 years? Etienne looked at her stomach and couldn't help but smack his tongue. He had never heard of a child not being born even after 10 years of pregnancy. He had only heard of a child being born after 10 months of pregnancy. Shuyun had been pregnant for 10 years, but still couldn't give birth. This was too exaggerated. Yes, but I can feel that this child is growing very healthily. It has been absorbing my spiritual power, so it needs a lot. I have eaten a lot of elixirs and pills, and almost couldn't satisfy the child's appetite. Shuyun rubbed her stomach, and her eyes were filled with love. I have all of this. Don't worry. Etienne hastily stuffed the storage ring into her hands and said, I have prepared all of these for you. You can use as much as you want. Shuyun snatched the storage ring and rolled her eyes at him. After a little inspection, she discovered that there was a huge amount of elixirs and starstones inside. She was immediately stunned. There were many things that she had never seen before, and they were all piled up inside. There are so many things. Don't you want to keep some for yourself? Shuyun didn't really want to get anything from Etienne. She just wanted to get some care. It's okay. You could take all of these. I still have some. Tianyun smiled foolishly. He stretched out his hand and rubbed Shi Shuyun's stomach. I will come back often in the future. I will also bring back some tonics. Look at you. You still have the face to say this. It has been 10 years. I thought you would never come back. Her eyes turned red. She really had this thought before. What? 10 years? Tianyun frowned and said, I remember that only 2 or 3 years have passed. How come 10 years have passed? Did I lie to you? Shi Shuyun glared at him. Strange. Tianyun thought for a while. Soon after, he clapped his hands and said, I know. It should be a problem of time and space. The flow of time in the divine domain is slower. The flow of time here is faster. That's why such a situation occurred. He recalled the content that he had read before. The reason why the divine domain was a good place, other than the rich star power, was time. The flow of time was 1 to 5. That meant that 1 year in the divine domain was 5 years in the outside world. This meant that one could live longer in the divine domain. Chapter 973. The difference in space and time caused the passage of time to be different. No wonder they thought they could not come back. Think about it. After the 3 divine kings left, they probably felt that they had only been gone for a few decades or 100 years. They felt that the time was too short, so they did not come back. Who knew that thousands of years would pass in the blink of an eye? This was not impossible. Of course, the real possibility was that they had gone to a faraway place and could not come back for a while. The crueler possibility was that they had died outside. This kind of thing was very normal. After traveling around the divine realm, Tianyun knew that the degree of danger there was far higher than in the 3 realms. In any case, he did not hear any news from the heavenly mandate divine realm. Then Tianyun told Shi Shuyun about the situation in the divine realm. After listening, Shi Shuyun was very nervous at first, but then she was relieved. She felt that she had experienced it herself. After the end of the battle, groups of people gathered together and began to discuss various things. Among them, the elders of the ancient Ming Divine Tower kept their heads down and did not dare to look at Tianyun, mainly because they were afraid that Tianyun would see through what they had been thinking. If he knew, they believed that Tianyun would definitely kill them. Fan Hone himself felt very embarrassed. Although Tianyun did not know. How could he not feel embarrassed when his own people had such thoughts? Tianyun looked at them in confusion. He did not know why they did not dare to look at him, but he did not think too much about it. Now everyone has seen the situation. The evil spirit clan continues to send strong enemies, and they are all at the level of the Lord of Heaven. Tianyun looked at them and said in a deep voice, In these years, I have traveled around outside and found that the outside world is far more vast than our world. Then Tianyun told them about the situation in the divine realm. After listening to it, everyone was shocked. They all thought that the Divine King stage was a very strong level. Now that the Divine King stage was actually called Star Lord, it was just the beginning in the divine realm. They suddenly felt like frogs at the bottom of a well. They didn't know anything and didn't understand anything. It was like they had just learned to walk. After the explanation, all of them fell silent. No matter how strong they were here, if there were enemies invading, they would be like ants, easily trampled to death. These are the details of the situation that I've learned in these few years that I've been away. At the same time, I brought back some martial arts that are more advanced than heaven-class martial arts. It can help you break through faster. Tianyun looked at them and said. After he finished speaking, he took out the low-grade reincarnation grade martial arts. Everyone looked at the martial arts on it with complicated gazes. If it were them, would they have the courage to do so? A reincarnation grade martial skill was unheard of. It was a level stronger than the best heaven grade martial skill. To them, a high-grade heaven-class martial art was equivalent to a national treasure. How could they give it away so casually? But Tianyun did it, and gave it to them without reservation. This made many of them feel ashamed. What they didn't know was that the martial arts that Tianyun gave them were the most trashy martial arts. They were very precious here, but they were very ordinary in the deity domain. At this time, the elders of the ancient Ming Divine Pagoda looked at each other and stood up. They all came to Yun and knelt down. Yun didn't know what was going on. God King Sky Cloud, we feel guilty. Because you haven't returned for too long, we even encourage the Patriarch to unify the three realms. Of course, we have absolutely no intention of harming the Sky Cloud Divine Kingdom. We are still protecting the Sky Cloud Divine Kingdom. We have absolutely no intention of harming it, although you might not know it if we don't say it. Now that we see that God King Sky Cloud is so broad-minded, we feel extremely guilty. We feel that we have let you down, God King Sky Cloud. We intend to let you punish us as you wish. They didn't choose to hide it. Instead, they chose to say it. After listening to them, Yun narrowed his eyes and looked at them. If they didn't say it, he wouldn't know. However, they wanted to be safe. If the news leaked, they would be finished. Rather than being found out, they might as well say it obediently. That way, they would undoubtedly be less guilty. It's normal for you to have such thoughts. After all, there are precedents. I won't blame you for this. Yun waved his hand and said indifferently, the key is that you don't have any intention of harming us. I believe that. We have absolutely no intention of harming you. We swear to the heavens. They were drenched in cold sweat. They weren't wrong. They just wanted the ancient Ming divine pagoda to unify the three realms. Harming them was too much. If Yun really came back, they would at least have a unified excuse. But if he harmed them, then everything would be over. Yes, I believe you. Yun nodded and said, then, you may rise. Thank you, God King Sky Cloud. Only then did they rise. The others looked at each other. Even if they really had such thoughts, they all dispelled them. This time it was too much of a shock to them. Yun easily killed such a powerful existence. One must know that compared to the previous group of evil spirit race, they were much stronger, but they were still killed by Yun. It was conceivable that Yun's cultivation had broken through to a higher level. He was an existence that they could only look up to. Ding! Successfully made all the emperors loyal to you. Reward, 10 billion EXP, 500,000 crazy points, 500,000 proficiency. Reward, 1,000 commander points. Even if Yun asked them to obey him before, they didn't obey him like this. All the experts in the three realms were present, which meant that if they wanted to create chaos in the future, unless he was dead, there would be no problem. Even if he died, no one would dare to do anything to the heavenly cloud divine nation. Because with Yun here, the speed of cultivating experts would definitely be faster than them. The meeting ended quickly. Yun asked them to come here to let them know about the divine realm, so that they wouldn't be frogs at the bottom of the well. The three god kings had not returned before, so they didn't know much about the outside world. After explaining, Yun immediately set out to find the core. His main goal now is to see if he can transfer the core. Immediately, he left the heavenly cloud divine nation and flew to the central area of the mortal world. The area where the core is located is in the mortal world. After all, the area where the core is located in the central area, and Fanyu is in the central area. However, even though the core is so close to the core, Fanyu is the worst, which is a bit puzzling. As for the actual situation, he will know when he finds the core. Along the way, he explored and soon found the area where the core is located, deep in the sea. It is not difficult to find it. His cultivation has improved so much, so the scope of exploration has naturally expanded. Chapter 974. In the sea, Yun dove into the water and flew towards the region he sensed. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the depths of the sea. When the surrounding sea beasts saw someone, they opened their huge mouths and tried to devour him. Yun looked at them indifferently. The sea beasts that were about to rush over trembled, and their huge eyes revealed fear. In the next moment, the sea beasts turned around and fled. They didn't dare to stay for another second. Then, he took out the heavenly divine spear, aimed at the moist soil, and started digging. In the blink of an eye, he dug more than 1,000 meters. The speed was astonishing, and This was under the condition that he controlled his strength. If he really dug with force, he would probably penetrate the entire three realms. The power of a sixth refinement Earth Lord was a heaven-defying existence in Fanyu. However, he hadn't broken through yet, so he couldn't be considered a sixth refinement Earth Lord. He hadn't passed the heavenly tribulation, so in theory, he wasn't a sixth refinement Earth Lord. Soon, he dug more than 100,000 meters underground, but he still hadn't reached the end. 100,000 meters wasn't deep. It could even be considered shallow. The reason why the Life God Temple reached the bottom at 100,000 meters was that the core was in that region. It didn't mean that he had dug through the planet at 100,000 meters. The place where the core of the mortal world was located was still quite deep. When he dug more than 1,000,000 meters, he finally felt an extremely strong energy wave coming from the region below. "I'm almost there." Etienne's eyes flashed. He quickly dug down. When he was about 1,100,000 meters deep, he fiercely swung his spear down. With a clang, it was as if he had smashed a thick piece of iron, causing his hand to go numb. "What's going on?" Etienne was shocked. One had to know that he was holding the heavenly divine spear, a mid-grade reincarnation level weapon. Using such an extravagant weapon to dig up the earth was simply too wasteful. However, Etienne didn't mind. He just wanted to dig faster. Who knew that he couldn't dig down here? It was normal for a spear to be unable to penetrate something from the divine domain. Was there anything in Fanyu that couldn't be penetrated? He squatted down and rubbed the soil away. A thick and flat rock appeared in front of him, and it was covered with dense divine patterns. The 9th grade defensive divine seal is indestructible. Without the cultivation base of a heavenly god or above, no one can shake it. The appraisal I transmitted the detailed information over, causing Etienne to fall silent. Only heavenly gods and above could break through. A 9th grade divine seal could only be carved by a 9th grade divine inscriber. Now, this thing had appeared in the 3 dimensions, and it was inconceivable. What was the level above the heavenly god realm? It was an existence stronger than the Lord of Heaven or even the divine monarch. Generally speaking, he was a star lord, then a 9 refinement earth lord, then a lord of heaven, and finally a divine lord. After breaking through to divine lord, one would become an Empyrean. Only after breaking through to the Empyrean level would one become a celestial god. The heavenly god stage was equivalent to the body forging stage in the 3 realms. It was an existence that the God King stage could only look up to. But in the 3 realms, there was a 9th grade defensive divine seal. This made Etienne extremely shocked. Which 9th grade divine inscriber had nothing better to do and came to the 3 realms to carve such a powerful divine seal? There are other core fluctuations. While he was shocked, he felt another fluctuation coming from above his head, and there was also a fluctuation coming from below. After carefully sensing it, he discovered that in the 3 realms, each realm had a core. This meant that the 3 realms had 3 cores, which was unheard of. According to the information he knew, under normal circumstances, no matter how many levels a planet was divided into, it would only have 1 core. There would be no more. But in the 3 realms, there were 3 cores beyond his knowledge. There was no need to guess too much. Etienne knew that the other 2 realms had thick defenses, and it was impossible to break through them easily. Without the strength of a heavenly god or above, how could one break through? 3 cores, if I say it out loud, it will probably drive people crazy, right? Etienne looked at the thick seal below. It seemed that even if the evil spirit race occupied this place, they would not be able to take away the core. A heavenly god existence, the evil spirit race would have a heavenly god? It was impossible. The evil spirit race was at most equivalent to a 2nd grade god realm, and heavenly gods would probably only exist in 4th grade and above god realms. 4th grade and above god realms had no interest in Fanyu at all, so it was impossible for them to send any heavenly gods over. But now they existed. An existence that could carve a 9th grade divine seal definitely had a powerful cultivation base. A heavenly god or above. This was inevitable. No one would believe that an existence above heavenly god had visited the 3 realms and even blessed the core with a divine seal. This was like a slum. Rich people would definitely not step into it. If they went in, they would only dirty their clothes. But now, a rich person had walked into the slum and even left something here. In that case, I can't transfer the core. Etienne shook his head and revealed a bitter smile. He originally thought that if he transferred the core, it would be equivalent to taking away the three realms. Who knew that not even the most basic defense could be broken, let alone taking it away, and he was firmly blocked outside. Even if he was a native of the three realms, he could not open this place. Let me take a look at the situation here. Etienne cleaned up the place, and soon a clean stone tablet appeared in front of him. Apart from the profound divine seal carved on it, there were also a few other large words on it. Three realms divine seal. Human seal. Etienne read out the words on it. After thinking for a while, he really could not think of a reason. He only knew that this thing could not be broken, so he could only see if he could sense it. Then he reached out and covered it with his hand, and began to use his spiritual awareness to see if he could penetrate this place. If he used teleportation, would he be able to move inside? When he used his spiritual awareness to explore, a terrifying suction immediately pulled his spiritual awareness down. He did not even have time to react before his consciousness completely disappeared. After an unknown period of time, he slowly woke up and found himself in a thatched hut, surrounded by complete furniture. However, this place looked very simple and crude. There were no divine artifacts, nor any precious spirit herbs. It was just a very ordinary small wooden hut. Where is this? Etienne hurriedly jumped up and found that he was actually a spirit body. His body was a little transparent. Clearly his soul had left his body. He hurriedly got off the bed and quickly rushed outside. Just as he rushed out, he was immediately stunned by the outside world. An ordinary little village. Outside was just an ordinary little village, with dozens of thatched huts on the side. Many villagers came and went, greeting each other, and he actually became one of them. Chapter 975. While Etienne was shocked, he saw that the villagers around him were all in soul form and not in physical form. This meant that they were all souls and not real living people. However, they were all like real people, greeting each other or discussing at the side. There were also many children playing around. Apart from that, when he looked up at the sky, it was no different from the outside. The sky was blue, and there were farmlands on the side. Everything looked so beautiful, just like a paradise. That is, Etienne looked up and saw a familiar person. To be precise, it wasn't a familiar person. It was a cultivator he met a long time ago, but he was dead. However, he could see him here. He lifted his feet and walked forward, but no one greeted him. He was like air and no one paid any attention to him. Along the way, they all turned a blind eye to him. He didn't care about anything and just walked forward. The further he walked, the bigger the village seemed to be. He couldn't see the end at all. The further he walked, the more villagers there were. They were all farming here or returning from hunting outside. Everything was no different from the outside. However, as he continued to walk forward, he started to see some changes. Groups of villagers were lining up like they were going to do something. He reached out and patted one of the villagers, asking, "What's going on?" The villager's body was patted, but he didn't turn his head and ignored him. He continued to stand there in line. It wasn't that these villagers were unconscious. Instead, the villagers at the side were talking and laughing as they continued to line up. They didn't react to his shouts or patting at all. They would only react to their own people. He was like an outsider, and no one reacted to him. That's weird. Etienne frowned and looked at them in confusion. Is it because I didn't die and randomly barged in that they can't see me? Of course, he didn't want himself to die. After all, it wasn't a happy thing. Then he continued to walk forward. Along the way, many villagers lined up. Their faces were filled with joy, as if they had encountered something good. The entire line was filled with joy, and no one knew what had happened. This group was different from the other villagers. They were all talking and laughing. They didn't need to farm or anything, and they just stayed in line. After walking for a long time, he finally saw the end in front of him. There was a bridge there. There was a stone tablet carved on the side with the words, Carefree Bridge. After the villagers crossed it, they disappeared into the carefree bridge in front of them. Nothing was left. When Tianyin got closer, he saw a whirlpool in front. He had a feeling that if he walked in, he would also disappear from this world. Is this the reincarnation area? He was shocked. Was the core the reincarnation area? After many cultivators died, they would be sucked into the core. After staying here for a while, they would line up to be reincarnated? He didn't expect there to be such a thing in the core. No, not all cores are like this. The core of the Church of Life doesn't have it. Tianyin frowned. He was confused. There were many things he didn't understand. No one explained anything to him, and there was no phantom or anything like that. Everything was just going on like this. When it was their turn, they would obediently shut up and walk forward. Then they would step onto the carefree bridge, cross it, jump into the whirlpool, and disappear from this world. Tianyin tried to walk onto the carefree bridge. As soon as he stepped on it, he immediately felt his consciousness begin to blur. He was so scared that he quickly retreated. Even for me, after crossing this bridge, my memories will disappear completely, right? Tianyin shook his head. Memories had to be eliminated. Otherwise, after reincarnation, they would carry memories. Of course, there was the possibility that some people could carry some memories back. There were also those with high cultivation and amazing willpower. After reincarnation, they would more or less have memories of their previous lives. As for walking over unscathed, Tianyin believed that it was basically impossible unless they didn't cross this carefree bridge. Reincarnation point. There is actually a reincarnation point here. He turned his head and looked behind him. There were groups of villagers queuing up behind him. In fact, they were all cultivators, and there were also all kinds of ordinary people. No matter what their identities were when they were alive, they were all queuing up fairly. No one would cut the line. He guessed that the villagers would farm here to get rid of the hostility in their bodies. After a period of cultivation, they would be able to step into the whirlpool of reincarnation. Other than that, he couldn't see any highlights. There was nothing special. There seems to be a house on the other side of the carefree bridge. Tianyin looked up. If he looked carefully, he found that in front of the carefree bridge in the distance, in front of the whirlpool, there was a house. He frowned. It seemed to be a little special, but he knew that if he walked over, he would definitely be lost on the carefree bridge. At that time, he would probably be reincarnated. He wanted to fly over, but there was no way to fly here. He could only walk. As for swimming across the river, looking at the muddy river, he didn't think it was a good idea. If he fell, his fate would be even more tragic. After looking for a while, he felt that there was nothing to see, so he went back the way he came. He didn't know where the exit was, so he could only go through the place where he came from. Soon, he returned to the original place, lay back on the bed, and fell asleep in a daze. When he woke up again, it was dark in front of him, and his surroundings were wet. It was obvious that this was the area he had dug up. After he got up, he fell in a deep thought. It seemed that this core could not be moved. As for the secret within, he was not too sure. Who set it up? How could it be so extravagant? He looked at the words engraved on it and really couldn't think of a reason. In the end, he could only make a teleportation point here. Then, he flew up again and filled up the soil here. After walking here, he flew to the heaven realm to take a look. He just wanted to see if his judgment was wrong. After all, he could feel the energy being transmitted from two different cores. This was a very strange thing. Soon, he found the core area of the heaven realm. Without saying anything, he started to dig quickly, reaching the bottom in one go. The distance was about the same as the mortal realm, which was more than 1,000,000 meters. With a dang sound, the celestial divine spear in his hand almost flew out. As expected, there really is a layer of protection here. Tianyin was still very shocked. Even though he was prepared, when he saw the words engraved on it, he was still shocked. 3 realms God seal, seal of heaven realm. Chapter 976. Tianyin had already guessed it, but when he saw that there was another core, his heart was filled with shock. After all, this was too crazy. There were 3 cores in a planet. However, only by sensing carefully could he sense that there were 3 cores. If he sensed it from the outside, he could only sense 1 core, and the fluctuations were relatively weak. At that time, he thought that the core was small, but now it seemed that it was not small, but it was sealed. As a result, the fluctuations released were relatively weak, not particularly strong, giving people a feeling that the core was relatively weak. For the evil spirit race, as long as it was the core, it was enough. Fortunately, they had not dug through. Otherwise, they would have discovered something strange here. The 3 core areas had been blessed by a grade 9 divine carving master. One could imagine that the core below was definitely not ordinary. If the evil spirit race knew about this, they would definitely send people over to carry out a large-scale suppression. Even if they could not open it, there would always be a day when it would open. How could it be ordinary if it had been blessed by a grade 9 divine carving master? Thinking of this, Tianyun felt that the crisis was even greater. I didn't expect there to be such a problem. It's fine if I can't transfer it, but there is such a big problem. Tianyun shook his head. If he really wanted to leave, he could just take some people with him. It could be said that he was selfish, but it did not matter. As long as his family could escape from here, it was fine. But now, he had a feeling that he absolutely could not abandon this place. Such an amazing 3 realms, there might be some secret inside. Such a big seal and 3 cores, it was amazing just thinking about it. Immediately, he reached out and covered it. Soon, just like before, his consciousness disappeared. When he regained consciousness, he appeared in the village again. It's actually the same. When Tianyun walked out of the house and saw the scene in front of him, he was immediately shocked. He did not expect it to be the same, no different from him below. It was not that the houses were exactly the same, but the people were exactly the same. This meant that the 3 realms reincarnation point was the same, and there was no difference between the 3. It also meant that the cores of the 3 areas were connected, forming a world. He did not go to the underworld's core, but from these 2 places, he knew that the cores were connected, and there was no distinction between them. Thinking about it, a divine inscription master who did this absolutely wouldn't separate the 3 realms, but rather connect them together. This wasn't a problem. The biggest problem was, what was the point? He looked very shocked, but he didn't know what the meaning was. If it was reincarnation, the effect would be achieved. It would be a continuous cycle, calling itself a reincarnation world. This might be a bright spot, but its effect on the 3 realms was rather small. Is there something I don't know? Tianyun frowned. His cultivation level was not high enough, so he did not know what the real intention was. He felt that if he wanted to know the purpose, he would just have to cross the bridge of forgetfulness and walk to the other side. Then, he might be able to find out. Currently, his strength was still insufficient, so it was clear that he was unable to reach that side. If he really walked over there, he would definitely be lost. After a round, when he was about to go back, a voice rang in his ear. Ding! Successfully accepted the special mission, break through to the point where you can cross the bridge of worries and find the truth. Reward: 1 trillion EXP, 10 billion crazy points, 10 billion mastery points, 10 billion SPs. After this special mission popped up, Tianyun was shocked. What a guy. After completing the mission, I got so many rewards. Tianyun was shocked by the data, but he quickly calmed down and shook his head. The more the experience, the more difficult it is. This was not the first time he encountered this kind of thing. The more amazing the reward, the more amazing the difficulty. This meant that crossing the bridge of worries was definitely going to be difficult. It seems that I can't cross it for the time being. I can only go back and make plans. Tianyun turned and went straight back to the hut, and soon fell asleep. When he woke up, the location was still the same, outside the thick shell. After waking up, he also set up a teleportation point and set up a few restrictions before leaving. Immediately, he came to the core area of the ghost world again, and the result was the same. He still entered the reincarnation point. He also set up a teleportation point outside, and he also set up a concealment restriction to seal the place. That's about it. Tianyun shook his head. The harvest this time was not small. At least he knew the core problem of the 3 realms. But the biggest problem was that there was no way to transfer. This could not be changed, and he did not want to completely abandon the three realms. It was easy to bring people away, but there was no way to transfer the three realms, especially those souls. If the people were transferred away, could the souls still be reincarnated? Thinking of this, he did not know what would happen, but according to the current situation, the evil spirit race would definitely send a powerful army over, and he did not know if he could resist them. This made him a little troubled. What should he do? Tianyin, what are you thinking about? Shi Shuyan walked over and sat beside him. Tianyin sighed, and then he told her the general idea, so that Shi Shuyan could refer to it. So it's such a big matter. I never thought that there would be such a magical place in the three realms. Shi Shuyan leaned on his shoulder and smiled. Although you are conflicted, you already have an idea, don't you? Tianyin was stunned, and he pinched her nose and smiled. Seems like I can't hide anything from you. I have indeed thought about it. He squinted at the distant sky. How could he give up such a beautiful place? Since the other party was very powerful, then he would quickly become stronger, and then everything would be solved easily. He believed that he could definitely surpass the other party's power, especially in the upcoming battle of the divine realm. Through this battle, he would definitely be able to break through a lot. At that time, even if it was the Lord of Heaven, he would have the power to fight. Unless a divine lord or above came, he would definitely not be afraid. But what if a divine lord really came? He could only choose to escape with his people. With the teleportation divine stone, it would be easy to escape. He then gently held Shi Shuyun's hand and said in a low voice, I will protect you. Shi Shuyun did not doubt Tianyun's determination from the beginning. No matter what Tianyin did, she would support him unconditionally and would not doubt anything. Chapter 977. After spending some time with Shi Shuyun, Tianyin went to find Yi Qingxian. He thought of Yi Qingxian. She had helped him a lot and given him this talent. He was extremely grateful. In terms of importance, Shi Shuyun would definitely be first, and Yi Qingxian would be second. As for Xiaoyan and the others, they were also very important to him. Now, they had a lot of power by his side. However, the one who had helped him the most was undoubtedly Yi Qingxian. The original holy maiden of the spirit race was here to help him deal with more matters. Compared to Shi Shuyun, she would only do more, not less. He quickly found Yi Qingxian. She was busy. After this battle, they had obtained many spoils of war, but many had been injured, so they had many things to do. God King Skycloud, you're here? When Yi Qingxian looked up and saw Tianyin, she hurriedly stood up and wanted to respectfully kneel. There's no need to call me that. I'm still the youth who saved you a long time ago. I'm still the old Skycloud. There's no need to be so respectful. After all, we've always been friends, whether in the past, present, or future. Tianyin looked at her and smiled. So there's no need to be so respectful. Just be casual. Just friends. Yi Qingxuan's eyes were full of resentment. She bit her lip and stared at him. Tianyin coughed a few times. He knew what Yi Qingxian was thinking. Many of the women around him had feelings for him. No matter how stupid he was, he could see it. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that they liked him so much that it was hard to display, it was enough to tell that the meaning between them was different. If he wanted them to die, they would do it without hesitation. Ahem, what's the situation with the spirit race? For example, how many vital crystals do we have left? Tianyin had come to ask about the spirit race's situation. Vital crystals? Yi Qingxian sighed deeply. We've been out for a long time. The spirit race is in a difficult situation to reproduce. All these years, we've turned the entire three realms upside down, but we haven't been able to find a substitute for the vital crystal. It looks like the heavens really want to destroy us. They were in despair. The situation had obviously taken a turn for the better. They didn't need to hide anymore, and they were in high positions. Who would have thought that they would fall into this vortex? If this continued, the spirit race would go extinct. Don't worry, I'll take you somewhere. Tianyin reached out and grabbed her shoulder, saying, Don't be nervous, relax a little, and don't resist. Yi Qingxian nodded, indicating that she understood. Shortly after, He let Yi Qingxian enter the planet in his body. As soon as she entered the planet, she immediately felt a rich life force surging towards her from all directions. She was extremely shocked. What a rich life force. What is this place? Yi Qingxian was amazed. This is the world within my body. Do you think it's suitable for the astrals to live in? Yi Tianyan asked. It's very suitable. I can feel the life force in my body flourishing. If the astrals lived here, they would definitely prosper. Yi Qingxian was pleasantly surprised. This was like coal in a snowstorm for them. Shortly after, she thought about it and asked doubtfully, Isn't this the world within your body? Have we always been living in the world within your body? Of course not. I'm always outside, and I'm always in danger. If I put you in here, I'll be harming you, Yi Tianyan said with a smile. Of course not. I'm always outside, and I'm always in danger. I just want you to feel the situation inside. If it's suitable, the next time I come back, I'll bring you a crystal that's even more powerful than the vital crystal. Of course, Yi Tianyan wouldn't let them stay in his body. He had thought about this a long time ago. His target was the core of the sacred temple of life. It'd be even better if there's one. Yi Qingxian was extremely excited. This was what they were worried about. If there really was one, then it would solve their urgent problem. They could still hold on for now, but if it dragged on for too long, it would be very serious. Don't worry, I won't let you wait for too long. Yi Tianyan looked at her and sighed. As the spirit king of the astrals, I've always said that I would help you solve this problem, but I haven't been able to solve it completely. This is my dereliction of duty. Our king, don't say that. If it weren't for you, our astrals would have long been destroyed. Yi Qingxuan's beautiful eyes were filled with gratitude. Now that you can help us find a solution, we have always believed that you can lead us to glory. Yi Tianyan smiled. They had helped him a lot, so this was a small matter. The divine runes of the entire heavenly cloud divine kingdom were supported by them. They carved the divine runes inside and out, so the effort they spent would only be more than others. By the way, our king, do you have time now? In a few days, we plan to go to the original ancestral land to pay our respects. As our spirit king, I wonder if you can accompany us? Yi Qingxian thought for a moment and added, In fact, you don't need to pay your respects. You just need to lead us back. She was worried that Yi Tianyan would not be willing to pay his respects. After all, the ancestral land had nothing to do with Yi Tianyan at all. This is no problem. Yi Tianyan readily agreed. Anyway, he had more time now, so it was not a problem for him to pay his respects. But after thinking for a moment, he asked doubtfully, Ancestral land, didn't you live in the forest before? That's right, but our real ancestral land is actually not there. Rumor has it that our ancestors live there. Yi Qingxian explained. All right, I'll wait for your notice. Yi Tianyan did not ask any more questions. He would know when he got there. Yi Qingxian nodded and immediately went to inform the astrals. It did not take too long to prepare, and after 2 days, they would immediately set off. It could be said that the entire spirit race was going to the ancestral land. No one was left out. This was the first time that Yi Tianyan had seen such a scene. He always thought that the forest was the ancestral land, but now it seemed that it was not the case. Under the guidance of Yi Qingxian and the spirit race's old ancestor, they soon arrived at the ancestral land of the spirit race, Brahma's sacred ground. This was what they called the place, Brahma's sacred ground. When Yi Tianyan came to this area, the place was a little strange. There was only a pillar standing there, surrounded by grass and nothing else. Chapter 978. The stone pillar in front of him was not obvious at all. If it pierced through the clouds, it would be more obvious. But this stone pillar was only 10 meters tall. It was not very tall, so he had not noticed it before. Even if he had investigated this area, he would not have known that this was the ancestral land of the spirit race. In reality, he had investigated this place before, but he had only scanned it briefly and had not observed it carefully. Who would be so bored as to investigate this stone pillar? More importantly, he could feel the power of the 3 realms' divine seal coming from it. This was what shocked him the most. Before, his cultivation was too low, so he could not sense it. But now, his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Naturally, he could sense many things now, especially since he had just returned from the Three Realms Divine Seal. He could sense it even more clearly. If he had not been there before, he would at most feel that the stone pillar had a special energy, but he did not feel that it was familiar. This is the ancestral land? Etianyan looked around. There were no buildings around, just this stone pillar. He had thought that there would be some kind of village, or at least some dilapidated houses. Who knew that there would be nothing, just a pile of weeds and this stone pillar? Yes, this is our ancestral land. Yi Qingxian looked at the stone pillar, her eyes full of respect. Rumor has it that after our ancestors passed away, they were buried here. Who knew that the moment they were buried, this stone pillar would quickly grow out and grow taller and taller? That's right, this stone pillar is 1/2 meter taller than in previous years. It's growing much faster than before. The spirit race patriarch beside her was also full of respect. This was their ancestral land. More accurately, it was where their ancestors were buried. They basically came here every year to pay their respects, and this year was no exception. A stone pillar that can still grow. Etianyan looked at the stone pillar and used the appraisal eye to look for some clues. But the appraisal eye could not see anything. It seemed that its level was not high enough, so it could not see anything more. Immediately, the spirit race people began to pay their respects. The ceremony was relatively simple. They just carried out offerings and performed rituals outside. They set up bonfires and prepared to pay their respects here for 3 days and 3 nights. It was quite lively. Etianyan didn't ask them to do anything special. He just stepped forward and said something on their behalf. The ancestor of the spirit tribe even said that Etianyan was not a member of the spirit tribe, but he could become their spirit king and lead them to glory. Everything was very strict and all kinds of rituals were very standard. They did not dare to offend in the slightest. Etianyan looked at the stone pillar and didn't dare to touch it. If he offended this ancestor, wouldn't he be scolded? Yi Qingxian noticed his expression and whispered, "Tianyun, why do you keep staring at the ancestral grave?" I discovered that this stone pillar is a little strange, so I want to examine it." Etianyan didn't hide anything. Even if he couldn't do it now, he would come back to investigate after they left. "It grew from the spiritual body of my ancestor, so of course it's strange. But you can touch it and examine it. There's no problem with that. Later, we will all take turns to touch it and ask the ancestor to bless us," Yi Qingxian said in a low voice. Etianyan nodded. It seemed like it wouldn't be so awkward this way. After they finished paying their respects, the ancestor of the spirit tribe signaled to Etianyan and said, "Our king, please lead us to touch the spiritual energy of our ancestors." Etianyan nodded and walked to the stone pillar. It wasn't very tall, but it was very thick. It was at least 3 or 4 meters thick and looked like a small mountain. He led everyone to the front of the stone pillar and covered it with astral power. When he transferred astral power into it, there was a buzzing sound, and the entire stone pillar suddenly emitted a dazzling light. The people who wanted to touch the stone pillar with Etianyan saw that when Etianyan touched the stone pillar, they all knelt down and kowtowed. "It's a miracle. Is this the ancestor's spirit?" They knelt down and looked at the shining stone pillar in shock. They had never seen anything like this before. No matter how they touched it, they couldn't cause this. Yi Qingxian and the others were stunned. They didn't expect this to happen. At the same time, Etianyan had already seeped into the stone pillar and extended from the top to the bottom. After a while, his figure flashed and disappeared completely in front of everyone. "What's going on? Did the Spirit King disappear?" Yi Qingxian and the others quickly got up and went to the side of the stone pillar. They found that Etianyan had indeed disappeared. They didn't know where he had been teleported to. The ancestor of the spirit tribe looked around and said doubtfully, "He should have been teleported away. Can the ancestor's stone pillar teleport people away?" They couldn't understand it. Something they had never seen before had happened in front of them. After Etianyan disappeared, when he reappeared, he found himself in a strange space. The first thing he saw was a spacious hall with a huge chair in front of him. Apart from that, there was nothing else. Is this the space inside the stone pillar? Etienne was startled. He could clearly feel that the energy waves here were different. It seemed that this tomb wasn't real. The real situation was that there was a palace below, but he didn't know what it was used for. Then, he slowly walked to the seat and sat down. As soon as he sat down, a special energy immediately flowed into his body. His body trembled. He felt his soul consciousness start to spread out rapidly. He could feel that his consciousness was connected to this world. It started from the mortal realm and quickly extended to the heavenly realm and the netherworld. After a while, he had completely extended to every corner of the three realms. No matter which corner he was in, he could feel it. Even if it was an ant in the corner, he could feel the waves brought by the ant's movement or hear the ants breathing clearly. Right now, he was like the true controller of the three realms. He could control everything here and do whatever he wanted. But this wasn't the key point. The key point was that he felt that he could control the three realms. The control of the three realms here wasn't to make a cultivator explode or overturn mountains and seas, but to make the entire three realms turn into a spirit ship and move forward. This is a control room. Etienne was shocked. He didn't think that this was a control room. This meant that the three realms were like spirit ships that could move at will. Chapter 979. In the face of this situation, Etienne was both surprised and happy. He never thought that the problem he had been worrying about would be solved here. He didn't need any powerful strength. As long as he sat here, he could control the three realms and go wherever he wanted. Very good, let's leave here now. Etienne didn't think too much about it. He immediately controlled the three realms and flew out. He didn't want to stay here any longer. He didn't know when the evil spirit race would come, but there was absolutely no harm in leaving now. As he continuously poured star power into the three realms, a thick shield was quickly erected outside. He had a feeling that even if the Lord of Heaven came, he still wouldn't be able to break this shield. This was based on his ability. The stronger his cultivation was, the stronger the effect of the shield would be. This meant that he didn't need to personally go out and destroy the rocks. He could leave here. Great, this is a three-realm spirit ship. Etienne was pleasantly surprised. If this was a spirit ship, then its scale was too big. It could even run through the sky. It had to be said that this was quite amazing. He didn't know why this person would do this. The ancestral land of the spirit race, a ninth-grade divine carving master. Could it be? When Etienne thought of this, his heart shook. It was very likely that the spirit race was the descendant of that ninth-grade divine carving master. Thinking about their amazing talent, even if they faced a powerhouse from the divine realm, the talent given by Yi Qingxian would still be useful. Thinking about it, it was scary. He didn't expect that it would be connected. Did the two seem to be related? He was only speculating a little. He wasn't very clear about the situation. In any case, it was a pleasant surprise to be able to control the three realms. Immediately after, he rushed out of the rubble. When the huge shield pressed down, the rubble was directly crushed into pieces. Then he quickly controlled the three realms and flew to a remote place. Many cultivators in the three realms still didn't know that the three realms was moving rapidly. They didn't feel it at all. After all, the three realms' flying speed was quite stable. There was also a thick shield outside. Unless an extremely terrifying rock smashed over or another planet smashed over, the three realms would be fine. Looks like half of the problem has been solved for now. Etienne's eyes flashed. The other half was to destroy the evil spirit race's ancestral land. This was something that was inevitable. Now that the three realms had been temporarily moved away, it meant that the three realms were temporarily safe. This place was locked onto by the evil spirit race, so no matter how many illusions were set up outside, it would still be broken through. Unless they set up an unbreakable defensive formation or had an expert guarding it, the evil spirit race would definitely continue to invade. At the same time, in the evil spirit race's ancestral land, after knowing that the three Lord of Heaven had died, the evil spirit race immediately exploded. What? The three Sakyamuni brothers are all dead. When this news spread out, many people couldn't believe it. They had already sent out 3 Lord of Heaven, but a mere Fanyu faction could actually resist them. When the news spread, many of the upper echelons immediately flew into a rage. Even the highest existence in the evil spirit race did not look too good at this matter. Our king, the 3 Lord of Heaven that we sent out are all dead. When they said this, they were still in a state of confusion. They really could not believe this kind of thing. The fact that 3 heaven monarchs couldn't even eliminate a mortal zone force was a disgrace to them. Especially since this was not the first time they had failed, but several times. It was truly humiliating. A force from the divine realm and a force from Fanyu. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth, like the difference between clouds and mud. Yet they were defeated. It was unbelievable to say it out loud, but the truth was there. What exactly is going on? Could it be that some force has already ruled over that place? An expert on the side stood up and guessed. Everyone nodded their heads. If that wasn't the case, they really couldn't think of how Fanyu could have such power. There was only one possibility, and that was that there was a powerful divine realm occupying it. Didn't we guess this before? However, we've already sent 3 Lord of Heaven. If we really found out what kind of power it is, we should have returned if we couldn't fight against it. It's possible that the other party will directly suppress us, giving us no chance to escape. They all knew their own situation, and many cultivators hated them. Therefore, it was not surprising that they would reject them. Enough! The evil spirit race king, who was sitting on top, was expressionless. It was impossible to tell if he was happy, angry, sad, or happy. This was the most terrifying thing. The experts at the side all retreated to the side, not daring to make a sound. They silently stayed there, not daring to say anything. Send out the evil flame, divine monarch, and 2 Lord of Heaven. Bring the heaven evasion talisman with you. If you can't beat them, quickly escape and report to me. The evil spirit king said coldly. Yes, sir. The evil spirit race looked at each other. This was the only thing they could do. Otherwise, no matter how many Lord of Heaven they sent out, they would just be cannon fodder. It was obvious that their king was completely enraged. He had overestimated them and sent out 3 Lord of Heaven, intending to suppress them in one fell swoop. Who knew that it would be useless? Instead, the 3 Lord of Heaven had died, making the evil spirit king furious. Now they had directly sent out divine monarchs. Such a big move would make people dumbfounded. To send out divine monarchs to suppress a Fanyu power. Were they stupid, or were they out of their minds? Sending out an Earth Lord could easily suppress them. There was no need for divine monarchs. But that was the reality. Only divine monarchs could suppress them. Just thinking about it was terrifying. Go as fast as possible. I want to know the news as soon as possible. The evil spirit king said coldly. Yes, sir. They immediately started preparing. Evil Flame Divine Monarch and the others did not bring any subordinates, just a few experts. They sat on the high-grade reincarnation grade spirit ship and flew towards the 3 realms. Under Evil Flame Divine Monarch's control, the speed was terrifying. It far exceeded the speed of the Lord of Heaven. It was definitely dozens of times faster. In a month, we will definitely reach the Fanyu power. Evil Flame Divine Monarch said coldly to his subordinates. They were very unhappy. They were supposed to go on an expedition to the Divine Realm, but now they were ordered to go to the Fanyu power. How could they be happy? Especially since the other party had killed so many of their people. Evil Flame Divine Monarch could not take this lying down. Under Evil Flame Divine Monarch's control, a month passed in the blink of an eye. After flying crazily for a month, a spirit ship broke through the space and pierced through the rubble, heading forward. We have reached the destination. Prepare to fight. Evil Flame Divine Monarch crudely controlled the spirit ship to pierce through. When they took out their strongest weapons and prepared to fight, they were dumbfounded by the scene in front of them. There was nothing. Chapter 980. Sir God, Evil Flame, and the rest were dumbfounded. They had come all the way from the evil spirit race's ancestral land. but they had seen nothing but a pile of rubble. It's gone. The planet has been moved? Sir God, Evil Flame's face was ugly. They had never expected the planet to disappear. They had seen planets explode, but they had never seen a planet disappear. Could the planet have been taken away by some mighty figure? The Heavenly Lord at the side looked at Sir God, Evil Flame, and said cautiously. Sir God, Evil Flame looked unhappy, so he didn't dare to speak too loudly. That's the only possibility. D***. I didn't expect that we would come here for nothing. To think that we prepared so much. Exasperated, Sir God, Wicked Flame swept out in all directions, turning the surrounding rocks into powder. Even the remote, uninhabited planets were turned into powder. The terrifying power made the Lord of Heaven afraid to approach. They were worried that they would be affected by the terrifying power. After venting for a while, Sir God, Evil Flame finally calmed down a little. He looked around coldly and said, I don't know where it went. Let's split up and search. But, no buts. I didn't ask you to fight. You just have to report the information to me. Sir God, Evil Flame stared at them coldly. This was a mission issued by the Evil Spirit King. He had wanted to complete it well. Now that the planet had disappeared, how could he complete the mission? They had to search around to see if they could find it. It was not Sir God, Evil Flame style to give up just like that. The Lord of Heaven gulped. They were naturally worried about the expert who had taken the planet away. The expert who could take the planet away was at least a Sir God. Of course, only a very powerful Sir God could do it. At least Sir God, Evil Flame couldn't do it. Yes, they could only bite the bullet and search. They were worried that they would meet an expert and die without a trace. Just like the people they had sent before, there was no news at all. They were all dead. None of them had escaped. D***. I don't believe that there are no clues at all. At the very least, let me know which faction it is. Sir God, Evil Flame began searching around. At the same time, the heavenly mandate divine realm was also in chaos. Time was obviously tight, but Etionyan suddenly disappeared, and no one knew where he went. Where did that brat go? Nian gritted her teeth and kicked away the rocks in front of her. She said fiercely, What time is it now? It's not long before we set off. If we're any slower, we won't be able to make it in time. The entire heavenly mandate divine realm was searching for Etionyan. Such a powerful disciple would be an excellent combat force in the battle of heavenly ascension, and it was very likely that he would make it into the top 10. How could they let him go? Now that such a thing had happened, all the elders of the heavenly mandate divine realm were in a panic. Although they could participate in the next battle of the heavenly mandate divine realm, it was not a problem for them to participate this time. It wouldn't be a problem for him to participate one more time in the future. Perhaps he could make it into the top 10 this time and win glory for the heavenly mandate divine realm. But now that he had disappeared, how could they participate? After searching for a while, they found a problem. Was Etionyan not in the heavenly mandate divine realm? If he was not in the heavenly mandate divine realm, how could they find him? Elder Nyin, there is no response from the token. It is probably too far away to send the message back. One of the guards came to Nyin Ciu and said, Too far. Nyin Ciu frowned. Where did that brat go? But at least he did not send back the message of his death. The token here could send messages. But if the distance was too far away, then the message would not be able to be sent back. Only when the person died would the message be sent back. The meaning of the two was different. Normal messages could not be sent back due to the distance being too far away and the lack of energy. Once the person died, the token would explode and be sent out with the strongest force. Unless the distance was very far away or there was a shielding matrix, there would be no way to receive the message. Yes, the token here is not broken, which means that he is fine. The guard wiped his sweat. These days they could be described as running around, tired to death, all in order to find Etionyan. Then we can only wait for him to come back. Nyin Ciu looked at the guard and said, Tell the others to stop looking. Yes. Immediately, the guard felt as if he had been pardoned and quickly went to inform his companions, telling them not to continue looking. The heavenly mandate divine realm was too big, and it was difficult to find him. If they could, They really did not want to look around. After the guard left, Nyen Ciu rubbed her head and sighed. I hope he returns quickly before we set off. Why is he not cultivating in the holy temple of life? Why did he suddenly run out? Is there something urgent? She shook her head and could only wait for the news. While the two forces in the outside world were busy with the matter of Yi Tianyan, he was controlling the three realms to fly to a remote place. Fortunately, on Fan Yu's side, there was no one flying outside, so they would not notice that the planet was flying. The consumption is really great. If my cultivation had not broken through, I would not have been able to control it. Yi Tianyan wiped the sweat on his forehead. If he was at the Star Lord level, he would not be able to move it. There was one more thing that was necessary, and that was the star power. Without the star power, it was also impossible to move the three realms. He was now controlling the three realms and flying forward quickly. The speed was neither fast nor slow, which was better than not moving. He tried to fly to a remote place to avoid being discovered by the evil spirit race. He believed that when the evil spirit race found that the three realms were not there, they would definitely search for it. Therefore, he did not dare to stop for a moment and continued to fly to a remote place. This alone would take him several months to fly. On the way, he would go out and explain these things before continuing to control it. Otherwise, Yi Qingxian and the others would definitely be waiting for him up there, which would be troublesome. Almost it should be safe this time. Yi Tianyan controlled the three realms to fly to a relatively remote corner before stopping the three realms. There were other planets floating around which could serve as a good cover. He still had to set up some concealment formations outside, otherwise he would definitely be easily found. Immediately, he came out of the control room and quickly flew out to set up the formation. The energy he spent was even more shocking. However, for the safety of the three realms, this work was necessary. This time I have enough time to cultivate. There is no need to worry about this for the time being. Chapter 981. After setting up restrictions outside the three realms, Yi Tianyan finally settled one of his worries. After returning, he lived a comfortable life with Shi Shuiyin and did not want to do anything else for the time being. He did not have much time to return, so he threw cultivation to the back of his mind. It was more important to spend time with his family first. After all, the evil spirit race would not find them for the time being, so there was more time. There was no need to be so anxious. He calculated that there was still half a year before the Divine Domain Ascension battle, so he could still stay here for a short period of time. When the time came, he would rush back to cultivate properly. There was no rush. He had more time in Fan Yu. Staying here for 10 years was equivalent to 2 years in the Divine Domain. From the looks of it, Fan Yu seemed to have a greater advantage. If they were in the same cultivation environment, this place would have a great advantage. After all, time passed faster. Cultivating in the Divine Domain for 2 years was equivalent to cultivating for 10 years outside. How could his breakthrough speed not be fast? In reality, it was not calculated this way. The time in the Divine Domain flowed slower, and it was mainly to cooperate with the cultivator. Especially for Earth monarchs, if they stayed outside, 1,000 years would pass in the blink of an eye. At that time, they would have to accept the heavenly tribulation. If they were in the Divine Domain, be it the cultivation environment or the cultivation time, they would have more time. The key was that the time in the Divine Domain was longer. 2 years was equivalent to 10 years in Fan Yu. So there was no need to be in a hurry to accept the heavenly tribulation. Cultivators were not fools. Otherwise, they would not keep heading to the divine territory. After staying here for a period of time, Yi Tianyan quickly arrived at the spacious planet outside and began to prepare for the heavenly tribulation. Only after the heavenly tribulation could he be considered a 6th refinement Earth monarch. Since he had nothing to do, he found a place to undergo the heavenly tribulation. Upgrade to 6th refinement Earth monarch. Ding, experience deducted, successfully upgraded to 6th refinement Earth monarch. As soon as he finished speaking, thick tribulation clouds immediately surged out from the sky, covering a much wider area than before. Lightning and fire intersected on top of the clouds, flickering endlessly in the sky. The might of the tribulation clouds was much greater than before. A heavenly tribulation at the sixth refinement, huh? It was still destroyed by me with a single punch. Etienne smiled and immediately rushed up into the sky. He ignored the huge lightning bolts that came crashing down and swung his fist. Boom! An attack with 1,000,000-star power was still blown up by his punch. Then he punched the tribulation cloud again, and the result was the same as before. Still in the most overbearing manner, he completely shattered the tribulation cloud. Buzz! After the tribulation cloud was blown up, another beam of divine light descended and nourished him, enhancing his physique in all aspects and the concentration of astral power in his body. He instantly felt that his strength had increased tremendously. The higher the level, the harder it was to break through. However, this was all within his tolerance range. There was no pressure at all. Seems like Earth Lord Julien has no problem at all. Etienne was full of confidence. If this continued, it would not be a problem for him to defeat Earth Lord Julien. After the breakthrough, Etienne returned to the three realms. Because he brought back many martial arts, most of the cultivators started to cultivate crazily. Such amazing martial arts made them feel rejuvenated. They continued to cultivate crazily when they were young. When Etienne saw this situation, he knew that the three realms would change greatly the next time he returned. There would be more and more people breaking through to the God King stage. Before going to the deity domain, they still belonged to the God King stage. When they went to the deity domain, their energy would be converted and they could be called Star Lords. Let's do the lottery. He had never had a chance to do the lottery. When he killed the Lord of Heaven, he had already obtained 3 lottery chances. When he broke through to the 5th refinement of the Earth Lord Julien and killed the Lord of Heaven of the evil spirit race, there was no additional reward. It seemed that he had to be of a higher level. Then, he opened the deity domain lottery roulette. The most exciting moment had arrived. Now, he wanted to get a divine skill to strengthen himself. Although he was not weak now, the stronger he was, the better. Who would dislike being too strong? Lottery! The huge lottery roulette began to spin, and the pointer kept skimming over the lottery category. Soon, the pointer stopped and finally pointed at the divine skill type. Very good! Etienne's eyes lit up. It was his first time drawing a divine skill. He had to say that his luck was really good. Dong! A crystal box rolled into his inventory, which made him excited at first. Then, he quickly opened the crystal box and didn't leave it there for long. After opening it, something appeared in front of him. Eyes of Charm, level 4. What? Eyes of Charm? Etienne was stunned. It was the same as before. After drawing the previous divine skill will be converted into Crazy Point. Of course, it won't upgrade the current divine skill. It needs a lot of Crazy Point. Eyes of Charm can charm the strong cultivator of the Lord of Heaven. Not including the Lord of Heaven. They will absolutely obey your orders. Level 4, no cooldown time, can only control 2 people. Next level requires 1 billion Crazy Point. Note, if the opponent's mental power is too strong, or if the opponent is possessed by someone else, it may lead to failure. It seems that I still made a profit. I guessed Eyes of Charm was level 2, but upgrading it to level 4 requires a lot of Crazy Point. Etienne can only comfort himself. But it does save hundreds of millions of Crazy Point, and he can control the strong cultivator of the Lord of Heaven, which undoubtedly makes it more practical. Again, soon the lottery roulette continued to spin, and the pointer finally pointed at the divine skill. Very good. Etienne was happy. It seems that today is really lucky. He got a divine skill again. Dong, the crystal box fell into the inventory, and he opened it with anticipation. Another divine skill appeared in front of him. Instant Transmission, level 5. Instant Transmission. Teleport to a distance of 500 miles in an instant. Cooldown time is 10 minutes. Next level requires 1 billion Crazy Point. Sure enough, he got the previous divine skill again, which made him feel very depressed, but at least it is level 5, so the distance has increased a lot. Forget it, at least it is a divine skill. I don't need to upgrade it myself. Etienne comforted himself again, and then rotated the lottery roulette again. He hoped that the last chance will give him a new divine skill. Dong, the crystal box fell again, and a divine skill appeared in front of him. Luck Aura, level 5. Chapter 982. Luck Aura. Level 5 Luck Aura can increase luck by 100 times, helping you to have excellent luck in battle or treasure digging. Consumes 100,000 crazy points per second. Seeing this consumption, Tianyin was scared and didn't dare to use it anymore. 100,000 crazy points per second, it's really too much. In the past, 100,000 crazy points could buy a lot of things, but now it's not even enough to use the most basic expenses. And this is a second, not a minute. It's even more than the consumption of crazy mode. But 100 times luck, this is quite overbearing. As for luck value, I don't know. Tianyin nodded, but this luck aura has never let him down. Therefore, it's activated at the moment of killing, and there will definitely be a lot of things dropped. 3 lottery draws are gone. I really want to continue to spend crazy point on the lottery. Tianyin smacked his lips. If only using crazy point to draw the lottery. The price is really expensive. A single draw costs tens of millions of crazy point. More expensive than anything else. Now it's very easy to get crazy points, so tens of millions of crazy points is not a big problem. Almost it's time to go back. I don't know if Elder Nian will scold me to death. Tianyin shook his head, suddenly leaving without saying goodbye. If it's someone else, they will go crazy. Immediately, Tianyin went to find Lei Jingyu. He has been wandering in the 3 realms. Without Tianyin's instructions, he naturally won't leave here. Brother Lei, we're going back. When Tianyin found Lei Jingyu, he was bored, teaching the disciples of Heavenly Cloud Divine Kingdom to cultivate. Going back so soon? I didn't expect this to be Boss Yi's hometown. Under normal circumstances, you really don't want to expose your hometown. It seems that Boss Yi still trusts me a lot. Lei Jingyu grinned. We are all human race. We are friends outside. Of course we trust each other. Tianyin reached out and patted him on the shoulder, smiled and said, "Thank you this time. If you have any problems, just tell me. Don't worry. If I really need Boss Yi's help, I will definitely not be polite." Lei Jingyu laughed. So how do we go back now? Do we take the spirit ship or fly? You don't need anything. Just stay here. Tianyin smiled and patted him on the shoulder, then said goodbye to Shi Shuyan. Shuyan, I have to go for now. This place is safe. The evil spirit race will not find this place for the time being. If they really find this place, I believe that we will have enough power to defeat them. Tianyin is confident that as long as he is given a little more time, he will be able to solve the problem. Tianyin said with confidence. I believe you, Shue said. I Shue as will. I will Shue too. Well, I will. Tianyin held her tightly and did not say much. He only knew that his responsibility was greater. It was not to protect the 3 realms. He simply wanted to protect his family. After saying goodbye, Tianyin went to find Lei Jingyu to move into the inner world, and then use the teleportation stone to directly return to the heavenly mandate divine realm. It was easy. He did not need to use any divine general summoning order. As long as he placed the person in the inner world, he could easily bring him back. Then Tianyin gave Lei Jingyu a lot of treasures. After all, he was his own divine general, and he could not be shabby. Lei Jingyu did not refuse anything at all, and directly accepted it. He knew that Tianyin had many advantages, and in order not to drag him down, he needed more resources to strengthen himself. Buzz, buzz, buzz. After sending off Lei Jingyu, the identity token in his arms began to scream, and he took it out and kept shaking. As he continued to sense it, he immediately sensed strong information, constantly surging into his mind. If there is anything, please come back quickly. The heavenly mandate divine realm will help you solve it. Come back quickly. The battle to heaven in the divine realm is about to begin. Don't run around. If you come back, please go to Elder Nian. Elder Nian can help you settle anything. All kinds of information seemed to be accumulating, and they were all transmitted to him, making his ears buzz. He had to say that the treatment was absolutely different. If there was no use, no matter where he went, he would not care. Now his status was not low, and the battle to heaven in the divine realm depended on him to get a good result. As for Murong Xiao, he could only stand aside. Through the situation of the Life Sacred Hall this time, everyone felt that Yi Tianyan would have a greater chance than Murong Xiao, especially since he did not need to distribute too many benefits. There was no doubt that more attention would be paid to training. As expected, they are looking for me everywhere. Yi Tianyan shook his head and immediately went directly to the Heavenly Mandate Divine Planet, where Nian Xiyu was waiting. Before he arrived at the Heavenly Mandate Divine Planet, a familiar figure appeared in front of Yi Tianyan, reaching out to knock him on the head. Yi Tianyan dodged the attack lightly. "Hey, how dare you dodge?" It was Nian Xiyu who appeared in front of Yi Tianyan, looking at him angrily, just wanting to teach him a simple lesson. Don't be angry, Elder Nian. I am back now, am I not?" Yi Tianyan shrugged helplessly. "Where have you been? This is a critical period. If you don't come back, then the loss will be great." Nian Xiyu stared at him and said, "I went back to my hometown for a while. It is a relatively urgent matter." Yi Tianyan did not lie. Anyway, they all knew this. "Is there something urgent?" "If there is anything, we can send someone to help you solve it," Nian Xiyu asked. "Can you help me solve the matter of the Evil Spirit Clan?" Yi Tianyan looked at her and smiled faintly. "The Evil Spirit Clan?" Nian Xiyu's eyes turned cold, looked at him, and said in a deep voice, "Where is it? I will help you solve it." Without saying anything, she immediately went to help Yi Tianyan solve the problem, which was somewhat unexpected. Isn't the Evil Spirit Clan at the level of the second-grade God Realm, or even the third-grade God Realm? Won't you bring danger to the Heavenly Mandate Divine Realm by doing this? Yi Tianyan asked curiously. Everyone has the right to kill the Evil Spirit Clan, especially the forces of Fan Yu. They are extremely disgusted. Many of our clansmen have been devoured by them. They have offended so many people. How dare they come here openly? Nian Xiyu snorted coldly and said, "Our forces are not as strong as them, but we will never compromise." Chapter 983. In that case, since so many cultivators hate the evil spirit race so much, why don't we join forces to eliminate them? Yi Tianyan thought for a moment, then asked, or perhaps even more powerful divine realm forces to get rid of them. Yi Tianyan did not understand much about this. Why didn't they exterminate such a disgusting race? Instead, they allowed them to cause trouble in Fan Yu's faction and occasionally in the divine realm. The reason is simple. The place they cause trouble is mainly Fan Yu. As for the divine realm, they only attack the more remote ones. At most, they are within the second-grade divine realm. As for our side, if we join forces, they won't be able to take us down. Nian Xiyu said helplessly. As for the high-grade divine realm, they are indifferent to this aspect. To them, as long as it does not harm their interests, they will not send out a single soldier. Reality was cruel. As long as it did not touch their interests, they could not be bothered to care about what Fan Yu did. This was equivalent to those high and mighty rich people. It did not matter how the poor people in the slums were killed or starved to death. Even if they had more food than they could eat, they would not give them any. Especially the high-level divine realm. Do you think there will be fewer who are more ferocious than the evil spirit race? Nian Xiyu shook her head. The world was vast and full of wonders. The evil spirit race was just one of the many races. Was there anything more ferocious than the evil spirit race? The answer was yes. It was just that they were powerful. No matter what they did, who would dare to resist? The fist was respected. The stronger one was, the harder the truth. Looks like we can only settle these matters ourselves. Yi Tianyan shook his head. Then hurry up and bring me over. I'll help you take care of them. Nian Xiyu took out the spirit ship and prepared to bring Yi Tianyan there. No need. Does Elder Nian think that I can't deal with them? He smiled. Several killing gods had been instantly killed by him, let alone a mere evil spirit race. Thinking about it, you are not weak. It is not difficult to deal with them. However, if a stronger Lord of Heaven or a divine Lord were to come out, it would be troublesome. Nian Xiyu frowned. But normally, the evil spirit race would not attack the human race for no reason, unless there is something they need. Nian Xiyu's ability wasn't weak. Previously, in the god-killing pagoda, she was at most able to unleash half of her strength. In fact, most of them could only unleash half of their full power. However, due to Yi Tianyun's heaven-defying title, he was not affected. If one thought that her power was just like that, then one would be thinking too much. When she truly erupted with power, even those death gods would be taken care of by her. It was just that Yi Tianyun was more violent and finished them off faster. That's not important for the time being. I can still make it if I join the ascending battle of the deity domain now, right? Yi Tianyun didn't say much in this aspect. Right now, he just needed to raise his cultivation. There's still time. Right now, everyone is testing their bone age. Most of them have arrived. Only you are left. Nian Xiaoyu said helplessly. There's a test for bone age? Yi Tianyun was puzzled. Yes, if you cultivate for too long, they won't allow you to participate in the competition. I believe that no matter what, it's impossible for you to have cultivated for 10,000 years, right? Nian Xiaoyu looked at him, and her gaze was a little unfocused, as though she didn't trust him. 10,000 years? Yi Tianyun had a strange expression as he looked at her and asked doubtfully, is there a huge limit to this bone age? There is definitely a limit. Although 10,000 years isn't considered long, 10,000 years to cultivate to the Earth Monarch realm. If it was you, would you take me in as a disciple? Nian Xiaoyu smiled and said, this depends on the situation. Yi Tianyun thought seriously for a moment. Nian Xiaoyu rolled her eyes at him and said, all right, other people will definitely think that you are an old monster. Otherwise, why would your mental power be so heaven-defying? That's hard to say. Yi Tianyun smiled and didn't refute anything. Instead, he asked, all right, the time in the divine territory is different from that of Fan Yu. So, how is the bone age calculated? This is definitely calculated based on where you are. Anyway, you will know after the test. Now that you haven't appeared for a long time, people will think that you are hiding. Nian Xiaoyu didn't say much. She grabbed him and flew to their destination. Soon, Nian Xiaoyu brought him to their destination, Kai Tian Star. Actually, it wasn't a special place. It was just a place where people gathered. When he came here, there were many cultivators testing their bone age. Do you see the old man in front? The person testing his bone age is not from the heavenly mandate divine territory. He is the executor of this battle to the heavens in the divine territory. Nian Xiaoyu explained when she brought him down. Every divine territory had executors who went to test themselves. After all, it was definitely not very accurate for each divine territory to test themselves. Maybe some people would hide it. Therefore, they had to send executors over. As for whether or not they would be afraid that they would be paid to let people hide their bone age and sneak in, there was definitely such a thing. It was just that they must not be chosen as a disciple. Once they were chosen as a disciple and proved that their bone age exceeded the standard, the executor and the divine territory that provided the cultivator would be severely punished. For this reason, some divine territories spent money to buy people to go in. They were mainly for support and would not try to get into the top 100. If they were caught, they would definitely die. However, just as they came down, the cultivators all looked over. Yi Tianyun saw some familiar faces, but there were more unfamiliar faces. The familiar ones included Murong Xiao, Yuan Tianyu, and the disciples from the core hall. There were also other disciples who were from the inner hall. Nian Xiaoyu's arrival attracted many people's attention. Nian Xiaoyu could be said to be their goddess. When they saw Nian Xiaoyu, their eyes were filled with admiration. However, when they saw Yi Tianyun beside her, they immediately looked as if they had eaten a fly. Some began to guess Yi Tianyun's identity. As for those who knew Yi Tianyun, some were full of jealousy, and some were full of admiration. Everyone had different thoughts. Who was the person beside Elder Nian? To think that Elder Nian personally brought him over. It is really grand. He doesn't know? He is the super genius Yi Tianyun who has been in the limelight recently. The outside world says that he is an old monster, but the truth is that he is already 30 to 40,000 years old. He has always been pretending to be young. 30 to 40,000 years old? Is it that exaggerated? If that is the case, wouldn't it be very shameful? He might not even be able to participate in the Divine Territory Ascension battle. That's not it. Maybe it is like that. I heard that he has been hiding for a long time. Now that Elder Nien has found him to test him, he is dead for sure. That's true. We have been testing for so long. Basically, most of the people who are participating in the Divine Territory Ascension battle have arrived. He should have come earlier. This time, he might really be caught. There will be a good show to watch. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.